Hey, this is John Carlos, and this is Movies We're Talking About. I am here with,
Eddie.
and we're going to talk about Saw 4, 5, and 6. We already talked about 1, 2, and 3, and we will be back for 7, essentially 7, 8, and Spiral, or 7 Jigsaw and Spiral. Um, I said this last time, I'll say it really briefly. This time, I only saw these once, like on DVD, specifically 4, 5, 6. I watched right before 7 came out because I want to see 7 in theaters because of 3D. So I haven't seen these since I think around 2005, 2006. No, 2007, 2008, somewhere in then when they dropped.
Okay. I haven't seen them since 2009, 2010, I'm
Okay.
thinking. And only once the entire time. And are we diving right in? Because
Yeah, let's just dive right on in.
okay.
It sounds like you have something to say, so go ahead and say it.
Well, because I saw them all once, like in rapid succession. I think I might have watched all three of them in a row
Me too.
before, like I did. Yeah. And I have to say, okay, what I remember, we're going off the same structure or
Yes.
similar structure from the last one. All I remembered for the longest time was that Saw 4 and 5 were for me when everything went wrong because that's when fucking Hoffman came in and I didn't like him. And then 6 was like an upswing, but I couldn't remember anything that happened really in any of them. I mean, not even the kills. I was just kind of like, that's all I remembered. And I talked about that for a while, and I think I got a few people arguing with me, like, that's not quite. And they're right. I feel like starting with Saw 4 in particular, I went in thinking I was going to hate it again this last time, and I really didn't.
Yeah. I didn't
Yeah.
hate it. I didn't hate any of these. I didn't hate them when I was pleasantly surprised when I first saw them. Not like they were amazing, but I was like, oh, like I expected them to be trash. And I'm like, oh, but
Mm.
as far as the continuity of it all, it's all very this is engaging to kind of, get your sink your hooks into and just kind of go on the ride. I
Uh,
remember really not liking Hoffman though. And on this new viewing, he's still not a great fellow, but
right.
he doesn't get under my skin the way he did the first time. Um,
Mm.
I'm not, again, not excusing anything, but he just didn't bug me as much, mostly because I was kind of taking in so many other things. Um,
Yeah.
these movies do really seem to be operating not on an A plot, B plot, but there really does seem to be always like two threads. So if you're not enjoying Hoffman's personality or character, just wait 5 minutes. We're going to cut back to some people in a room screaming about something,
That's what I forgot. I
strapped
forgot
to a,
how much Johnny Jigsaw also is kind of like still in flashback form,
oh
really,
yeah,
like all
Tobin Bell got paid.
over these movies. And
Yeah.
I was like, what the? Okay, that I forgot. Even though he was in my mind, in my memory, he was out. Like he died in 3, and then we had to follow fucking Hoffman, and that pissed me off. And I missed. I guess what I missed was having Johnny Jigsaw as an active participant in what was going on, as opposed to continually returning to uncover more details about what we thought happened or what we didn't know, or I never thought to think that that might have been a relevant thing, the bridge between like the two things we've already seen, like all of that. He but he's kind of all over it, and it does save a lot of it for me because I really like, I mean, I like watching him. I think he's an interesting character, and I think to this day, I think he's a far more interesting character than Hoffman. I still can't
Oh, hands
find,
down.
yeah, I can't find anything to sink my teeth into with that character, even when they try to like give him a motive. And it's not the actor's fault. I'm a fan of Kostas Mandilar. I
Ooh,
don't know how to
that
say
is
his name.
a fun name.
Yeah. And I've been a
Wow.
fan ever since I was in 6th grade. I had a girlfriend and we went to go see Soap Dish together. And I didn't know that Soap Dish was written by the screenwriter of Steel Magnolias, who's gay, 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 gay. And that it was going to be gay, 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 gay. It's campy and fun. And there's topless guys kind of running throughout the movie. He's one of them. And back in the
Oh,
day, he is responsible for a great part of my sexual awakening in sixth grade.
That's so
He has
fun to know
yeah,
because I literally I don't recall ever seeing him in anything before the Saws.
he was on Sex in the City too. He played I don't remember if it was a friar, but he was dressed like one in like a brown robe. And Kim Cattrall's character, Samantha, everybody knows that, was taken by him, and she was convinced she was going to seduce him. So she tried to like kind of like do good by the church and things like that, and tried to seduce him. I think
I
she even
remember
grabbed his
that.
dick
Yeah,
at one
yeah,
point.
yeah.
That's him. Yeah, he was in a
Okay,
little
I need to
friar
go back
robe.
and watch that because, for my mind, my brain only recalls him from the Saw movies, and
Yeah.
the character is so unpleasant.
Hmm.
I haven't done it yet, but I just want to see an interview or just see him in something else, just to know that he's not like that in anything else. Or if it's just one of those parts where, like, well, we found this asshole to kind of play this asshole, and
No, he play. If I remember correctly, he resists Samantha's temptressing, and yeah, so he's a good guy in that. Soap Dish, it's up to you, because all I remember, this is all he did. He stood there and auditioned for something with Carrie Fisher, and she said, like, I love what you're doing, Mark. Very true. I just think we should do one more, and I don't know, maybe do one without your shirt. He's just like, sure, and he just pulls his shirt off, and he's
dude,
gorgeous.
dude, I love that show, but like, I can barely quote shit. I love that you can like quote through like a whole scene.
Well, this is Soap Dish. This is Soap Dish, but
Okay,
yeah,
never mind, never
yeah,
mind.
no, I love that
That's
movie.
right.
That's like that's gay Bible. But anyway, so I
The
like
only wait, the
him,
only thing I
but
really remember about 4, aside from not liking Hoffman in 4, 5,
yeah,
6,
yeah.
I remember that 4 ran parallel to 3. I remember that twist. I remember that reveal.
I didn't remember that
Well,
at
it's nice to
all.
get
I
to go
was
on that
like,
journey.
oh, it was nice. I was like, what? Like,
Because what's funny to me is when you watch it, when
it
you
was a
watch
good
it,
moment to have.
yeah, I, I think I remember I don't remember a lot, but I remember all the twists. So like, it's very hard to fool me watching these again.
Oh,
But I'm glad it worked on
wow.
you
No.
because you got to
Yeah.
have that again. Because one thing I noticed when you watch it, knowing it this happens in a lot of movies where like once you know the twist, you're like, oh my god, it's so obvious, like duh, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
But like it's fun that like they do the opening scene with the tape,
Yeah.
so you think that everything that's happening is after that, but then
Mm-hmm.
you're watching it and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, at no point is anyone acknowledging as they're entering a new crime scene with traps. No one goes, how's this happening? Jigsaw's dead, right?
Right, right, right,
And
right.
you realize it's because no one knows he's dead yet. Like
Yeah.
they've informed the audience, so we've had that, oh, he's dead, so they don't have to bring it up again to the audience. But like in
Right.
hindsight, no character mentions it, and I find that wholly unbelievable. If you think it's like, that's a giveaway to me. The other giveaway is just that little moment, and it's a slick little moment. But that dude like comes in and tells Hoffman, he's like, oh, there's that missing doctor, and I'm like, the missing doctor from 3, they got taken. Like, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Right. No,
And
I mean, it's also a good mislead just because they open with Johnny Jigsaw's like dead body and his dead dick and everything like that. And
oh yeah,
I love just the work that they do on the pulling up of the back of the skull and shit.
I
And they're
love
fun.
his dead dick. No.
I was moving away from it, but
Oh, yeah,
I was
no,
like,
it's
but
all
even that, I was just even that, I was just like, male nudity can throw a mainstream audience off their
Mhm.
game, and you're opening with that. So good for you. And then also just like the elaborate, like, kind of like thought that went into like all of the stuff they're doing with the scalp and the autopsy and the pulling of his stomach out, and the way that even the way like esophagus like coils and shit. Oh god, it's so gross, but it's like it doesn't put me off. I'm just kind of going like, oh shit, I'm watching a Saw movie, and I don't remember having that kind of feeling of exhilaration before. So there was that.
One thing I liked about it carries through the movie, but I noticed in that scene, a few other scenes is
Yeah.
how Darren Lynn Bousman. I have to look up and see if it's the same DP for 4, but
Mm.
the color palette used in this is slightly a little, I don't want to say more mature than the others, but there's a lot of use of grayer tones that allow the reds to pop more.
Right.
His use of palette in this color palette. This is my favorite.
Yeah.
My favorite of the Darren Lynn Bousman direction of his 3 movies. I know he comes back later, but
Okay, I didn't remember that, but I can see that. I don't know that I agree, but
not judging the
we'll talk.
story, not talking about character. I'm just talking about approach.
Okay, I know. I think that's fair. I mean, but
Especially because
I just don't know.
he gets a little playful with these scene transitions where someone gets thrown through a window and then we go
Okay,
to the
that
next scene.
no. Okay, because
It's
I wrote them
playful,
down.
but my problem is not so much the transitions as much as the choice that the script makes to
Yeah,
constantly cut between two things that I don't think we should be breaking a scene to go to this now, and then we shouldn't.
yeah.
And that we shouldn't be going back in the middle of kill scenes. This is, yeah,
Well, I thought it was silly because like the first one I wrote down was Rig. Uh, I think he's pulling his shirt off, or
yeah,
maybe he's putting it on. I don't remember. And then we transition right into. I just wrote short story. Believe me. I don't know what that
yeah.
means.
But
I guess
it's a transition from one scene to the other with him, like him getting up and taking his shirt off,
it
and then
just looked silly to me. I was like, what? And then there was the other one. I just wrote crashing transition into the off from Rick's place. I don't know what that means. And I wrote one more. Oh, they have to save themselves into the interrogation room. That was Johnny Jigsaw saying they have to save themselves. And I don't know. None of them were really successful for me.
well,
All of them, I was just kind of like, yeah,
look, they're well. I will admit they're pointless,
yeah.
but I will take him trying to do that
Mm-hmm.
than more. The camera spins and then quick cut to a guy screaming for half a
Sure.
second. Like there's a little bit less of that, and a little more of like fine, fine,
Yeah.
fine. But I want to. I love the idea that, and this carries through with the sequels. But I really started to feel it in 4, where like, oh, we had Hoffman. Remember him? He was in one scene in 3. Here you get a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
We saw Riggs a little bit in 2, a little bit in 3.
Mm-hmm.
And the actress who plays his wife, she shows up and doesn't even have lines. She's just in flashbacks. But the fact that these movies are at this point, I feel like they know this movie's. We spend $5 million on a budget. We're gonna make 80 back. Like we're gonna do a Saw 5. When you're making Saw 5, you're like, we know we're gonna do a fucking Saw 6.
Sure.
So
Sure.
when you get hired to have 3 lines as a cop in a movie,
Yeah.
you've got a job next year.
It's highly likely. Yeah.
Yes, I think that was super fun to be the Rig or Hoffman or I forget. I gotta remember his wife's name in a moment. Julia, June. I don't know. But
I
good for
didn't
them.
write it down. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, go.
I forget the lawyer's name.
The lawyer. Oh, I wrote it
It's
down.
an A name,
Shit.
like Arthur, I think. But
Maybe I
lawyer
didn't write
guy.
it down. Keep talking. The lawyer. Yeah.
One little thing that really just kind of not threw me off, like I was confused, but
Yeah.
Hoffman, and then we
Yeah.
introduce Strom,
Yeah.
and they're both like the same type of guy. And I'm like, oh god, you guys look very alike. This is gonna be okay. And then we see the lawyer, and we see because he's got that beanie on, but then we see flashbacks of him in a suit. And I'm just like, you got 3 like olive-skinned Greek Italian looking men. They're all the same looking. I don't know, just could the casting director, could we find like a blonde or like an Asian, just break it up,
Right.
black lead, but like it's just 3 men that all look like the same dude.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's just
It's like they're looking for a color palette with like the general kind of milieu of like any kind of not silhouette, but like any kind of tableau of characters. Like there's literally the sign. His name is Art, the lawyer. When Art's there, when fucking Eric Matthews is there, and when Hoffman is there. And yeah, you're exactly what you're doing. We just got 3 white guys standing there like doing whatever they're doing, and and then we've got Rig like to come in and say, I want to ask you about Rig.
oh wait,
Are you
don't
going to say something?
I
Yeah.
don't have that with Eric being in the room though. It's specifically those 3 guys, because they all have dark hair. They all have like similar skin tones. They're very much like the same. I don't like, to me, if you cast them to be part of the same family and like they're brothers or cousins, I go, oh yeah, I believe this.
Oh well,
They just
I've
all
never
look too
lusted
similar to me.
after
It was
the other
just,
guys, so Hoffman stands out to me because like I lusted after him at a very young age, so there's that. But
and I just think he's got that stink face. Just wipe that stink face off your face.
it's really easy for him to look like he walked into the room and smelled like onions cooking or something, or not onions because onions smell delicious. They're not cooked yet; they're being chopped, and he just goes, you know. But
You had a question about
I
Rig?
want to I wanted to ask you about Rig, like, because one of the things that confused me, I definitely remembered him. And I was happy to see him have as much screen time as he did
Yeah.
because I think he's a good actor, and he didn't get to showcase that before. That said, I wish they could have worked as much as they worked, like kind of keep like a line of continuity. Sometimes they drop the ball, but not really. It's not like something I think this franchise is notorious for. I think I'm actually quite impressed with how much they revert back to things that happened and want to just kind of make it all feel like this strange incestuous, like, you know, like family tree of activity within the Saw universe. But I just wish they could have done a little bit more work. I don't, maybe there's a deleted scene I haven't seen, but I just wish they could have done a little bit more work kind of humanizing Rig, like, because he was such a dick in the way he kind of approved of Eric Matthews' treatment and his abuse of power and his corruption and all of that. And he was so disrespectful to Carrie to her face. So when they finally discover her corpse, he seems so contrite and so like even moved by the loss of, you know, this person, like he actually cared about her. And I just wish some light could have been shed on that in a way that like kind of solved the problem for me, because I'm like, well, you didn't act like that. You were a dick. If there could have been like maybe some shame, or maybe like I told her, she like just a little bit, just a line or two, just like something to kind of connect
I
the
mean,
dots.
my retroactive headcanon is now like, now that she's in that position, he feels bad for how he spoke to her. And
Eh,
you know, no, but that's just the work that I have to do. But I
yeah.
honestly, maybe I'm a bad moviegoer, but like, it was you pointing out his approval of Eric's ways that I went, oh, I thought he was just a guy in the scene. And then I don't
No.
remember, I don't remember his treatment of Carrie at all in 3. I just remember him being around. So
He
like,
insulted her to her face. He told her something where Eric's going something, and he's just like, the man's got a family. That's something you wouldn't understand. And it's like, and it goes unbattled, like nothing. She doesn't say anything like back. It's almost like she kind of like, she doesn't shrink, but she does just kind of like handle it stoically and move on, you know? And it's like, dude, I'm pretty sure she's in charge right now, you know? And also, I don't know. So, I mean, so something like that, like it would have been nice if I could have seen like some shame in him or some kind of yeah, okay, he's away all the time and he's got that with his wife. But can we find out he's got like a temper and sometimes acts before he can think and stuff like that? Because actually that would have helped boost his fatal flaw of the movie, when it's finally revealed like that all he had to do, and I actually enjoyed them bringing that motif back, that whole just follow the rules, and if you would have followed the rules everything would have been fine. And he literally watched Detective Eric go through that and not follow the rules, and then he just went and made the exact same mistake himself, but in a very different way. Like I loved the recruitment angle of this movie. I completely forgot about it, but oh my god, I was like, okay, this is expanding not just the universe, but the way we tell the story of like this.
The intentions of what we're putting the trap person, not the trap person, but the one being tested.
Because we know people can be recruited, but we've never kind of like seen it through their POV as they're moving through it. It's always felt more like a narrative structure, and we're just kind of like seeing that character, like seeing Johnny Jigsaw recruit Amanda, or you know, or even eventually Johnny Jigsaw recruiting Hoffman. But watching when you're watching Rig, it's almost like you are watching, you know, this play out in real time, and I found it fascinating because I could almost feel him drinking the Kool-Aid.
And you're fighting for him to resist,
and I couldn't tell him not to. But at the same time I couldn't tell him not to, because what would I have done? Just like my significant other is missing. Am I just going to let her, you know? But
in that same way, in 3, where I'm trying for, was it Jeff? Yeah, I'm like, I don't want Jeff, like, don't fall for this.
Right.
Like, you're being
Right.
baited. And in this one, that same way where I'm like,
Mm.
don't let him recruit you. Don't allow what's happening to you, like, resist.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a little thing I just want to bring up.
Yeah.
You know, if we're going back to like the continuity of things.
Okay.
I giggled and I created. Let me just tell you. So I'm watching this, right?
Yeah.
And we're doing the flashback, and John's waiting outside the center for his wife, and this whore comes up and offers him sex, and I'm like, holy shit, it's
Yes.
Addison,
Yes. Yes.
which is fun. But we were talking about in the last one how Xavier, is that his name? Is like, well, the only thing you do is you spread open your legs, and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa! Like, why are we going? You don't know her,
Right.
you don't know anything about
Yeah.
her, and now you're calling her a whore. Like, what the fuck,
Right.
dude? And I felt like some of the producers, or at least one producer between 2 and 4, went, whoa, whoa, whoa! Why are we calling her a whore? That's fucked up, right? And then someone's like,
Mhm.
well, what if we put her in this movie and she is a whore? Then
Yeah.
then it's not as
And maybe she and Xavier are like in
it's
the same neighborhood, so
it's
he's
like
seen
the
her around and he
shittiest,
knows.
not shitty, but
Yeah.
it's like the silliest retcon of like, no, she is like a slutty whore. We'll put
There
that.
are but there
That'll
are a
fix it.
few of those. There are a few of those where I'm just kind of like, well, that was problematic. It's like, oh, so that's like a tiny retcon of something. We'll get to it. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I really loved, but hers was actually, we get in situations in these next 3 movies where a character will be introduced into a situation that they didn't know they were in, whatever. And sometimes it feels more contrived than others. With her being there, it was just charming. I was just kind of like, we're in the same universe. Like, I mean, of course she's just gonna be like that, but we don't need to know that she was like some kind of secret, like, you know, like undercover, like whatever or anything like
Yeah.
that. She just happened to be there in the neighborhood because this is this Soniverse. And I was just like, okay, awesome.
Yeah.
I
No,
like
it's
this.
that same.
I like
It's
it.
to me, it's like watching Thor visit Doctor Strange in Ragnarok. You're like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
it just
This
made
is
me
all
laugh
very
though
end,
that I'm like, oh,
very end game.
you're confirming she's a whore. Got it. Okay.
Sex worker.
Yeah, no, oh, no shame for sex workers. I was just using a fun word. Anyway,
Yes.
make that money however you need to make it, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no shame.
Yeah, right.
I do also find it funny that we had like 3 movies with these like elaborate traps, and you know, this one kind of posits the question, like, could Amanda have been strong enough to like lift some of this shit?
Yeah.
But all the traps, I love that in this one. I think this is the first time they ever mentioned, oh yeah, John Kramer, the engineer. We're like, oh yeah, okay, sure, he was an engineer. No, look, there's magazines, multiple magazines with John Kramer, famous engineer. Okay, thank you, movie, for
Right,
really
right.
answering the thing that we barely kind of. That's fun. All right, maybe overcompensating, but maybe there's things that make me chuckle in this, not in a mean way.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, Eddie.
Giancarlos, how did you feel? I mean, you probably remember that he was there, but how do you feel about Eric Matthews' survival and appearance in this film? What I mean, did it have any effect on you either way? Like, were you like, hey, cool, or were you like, well,
No, I was like, hey, cool, just because in 3 we see what
yeah,
happened to him at the end of 2, but then we still kind of leave it open, and I'm like, all right. So the fact that they did pick it up, if anything,
mhm,
I thought it was cool to see him in part of this trap. I liked that the trap involved cops. That there really did seem to be this long running network of like Rig and Carrie and Eric and Hoffman and was it Tate, Danny Glover's character, like all these, you know, so yeah, it really seems to be like this task force of people all trying to solve it, and boom, 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 boom. So I was fine.
right.
If anything, I wouldn't say I was emotionally affected, but I did kind of get a little sad the fact that like he's locked alone for like months petting rats. So now he's at the point where like they're in a trap, and his role in the trap, aside from like staying on the ice, is like, no, this guy's probably over it. And like we factor into the fact that like he's gonna try to kill himself, and we have to keep him on the ice. We're gonna give him a gun, and tell him, don't use it on yourself. Probably like just if it's always like stick to the plan, follow the rules. And his easy way out is like, I'm fucking look at my beard, like I was friends with the rat, like I'm just fucking want to die. Like it worked in the story. So, you know. But I mean that
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because
it's nice.
Yeah.
Especially to see, you know, because I've known, not personally, but Donnie Wahlberg has been in my heart ever since I was 8 years old with
Right.
oh
Oh,
the right
the right stuff.
he was my favorite new kid.
Really?
Yeah, man, because he was the tough one. Joey McIntyre, he was little, he was a bitch, but Donnie was like from the streets.
He was boyish. Yeah.
In fact, we did in third grade when I was 8 or 9 years old. We had the school had a lip sync contest, and we did My Favorite Girl, and I got to be Donnie, and I had like a jean vest, like I was the tough one.
God, do you have footage or anything?
I'm sure there's a VHS in somebody's attic.
Okay.
But yeah.
Let's put out a call. Anybody watching, if you know Giancarlos, then you know someone who might have been taping.
No,
I want that tape.
I bet you do. I think I even had like I don't think Donnie wore a little cap, but I had like a little cap. Anyway, anytime, you know, between like 6 cents and like just anytime he shows up in something, I'm like, oh, Donnie, he was my favorite new kid, you know.
I get that. Like his acting career has definitely served him. I think the first thing I saw him act in post New Kid was Sixth Sense, like most of the world, and I remember having to be told that was him and being like, what? After I saw the movie, and I was just kind of like, that guy, because it was amazing, it was memorable, it was connected, it scared the shit out of me, still does. But okay, because the only reason I ask is I'm glad I asked though, because you kind of turned me around on it. Because I remember when I saw it, I just wrote down Eric Matthews Survival, not my favorite, and that was just like on the face of it. Like when I first saw him there, I was like, what? And and then I didn't know how to feel, like, because he was essentially just kind of there to die in my estimation. But now that you mention it, from your perspective, I kind of got exactly what I was asking for when we discussed the past trilogy. And I was like, what if there were somebody in the traps who just wanted to die? And I got that. I did. It wasn't like that from the beginning, and it did. And there were too many other things going on for me to notice it. But now I appreciate it. I appreciate you, John. So thank you.
And I
thank
like
you for
that
changing my mind.
I like
See,
that
it can
art
happen, folks. Yes.
I appreciate that art's like, oh shit, he's gonna try to kill himself again. Let me get up from the desk and be like, no. Just stick to the plan. please.
His little scarred face.
Oh,
because he went through the ringer too. My God.
Yeah. One little thing that confounded me about just a little thing, and again, people don't always act rational, but I feel like in this case, this is a valid thought.
Mm-hmm.
Opening scene, 2 guys, one with the stitched eyes, him with the stitched mouth.
Yeah.
He wins. He gets out.
Yeah.
Once he's out and free, he goes, ah, and he screams and rips his thing open. I'm like, dude, you're fucking out. Now you're free to move, use your hands, find a thing, and you can take a breath and calm down because you got out. And now you're gonna fuck your mouth up. I believe it more when you're in the trap and you're like, oh, what the fuck? And then you scream and that was like the dumbest, most irrational thing to do. To fuck it all up once you're free and safe.
No, because think about the frame of mind he was in.
I went, why? Why? Why are you doing this?
No, but I mean, I get that, but at the same time, like, you have to think about the state of mind he was in, like how far he had to go and how primal he was and how he's not thinking sensibly at that point. He wasn't thinking sensibly to survive. It was all id. It was completely unfettered instinct. And that means maybe you need to do your battle cry and maybe you don't give a shit if you tear your mouth up
If no, but that id and that energy, I believe it while you're still in the trap and you're not thinking straight. But I feel like you're gonna feel some sense of, you're still gonna be firing on a lot of heavy cylinders, but you're still gonna get some sense of relief when you're like, holy shit, I got out. Now let me fuck my mouth up. Like I don't
know if
I don't buy it.
But if you've never killed someone and you literally were just seconds away from being killed yourself, like you were in a him or you kind of situation, and it was like perfectly orchestrated because they didn't both have their eyes sewn shut, they didn't both have their mouths sewn shut, they were incapable of communicating with each other, and that put kind of, and there's a good theme for like I guess the next three movies, just kind of like what's the word I'm looking for, just kind of inspired or activated like the worst aspects of an instinct for survival in each other, because it's no longer just about me surviving, it's about me surviving and you need to fucking die. I mean, that, again, like I don't know, it didn't bother me. Yeah. I did write down the chains in the sewn eyes / mouth scene. I just wrote, I remember, this was another thing I remembered that I misremembered. I remembered watching this movie and thinking, this is what haters of these movies must imagine these movies to be.
Yeah.
I think I lumped 4 and 5 in together for some reason. To this day, I don't know why. But I just, yeah, I didn't get that this time because I kept thinking this is when it started, when the traps, for some reason I thought all of the traps in 4 and 5 were the ones that didn't work because Hoffman was in charge. And that's when I stopped liking these movies, because all of a sudden it was just a bloodbath. It was just like gruesomeness and brutality, like for its own sake. And I was so wrong. These actually, particularly the movie in 5, play out much more like procedurals for me than the first 3 did. Like, I mean, we're living in the lives much more of like, you know, kind of like inside the system and the corruption, the way it's filtering through it, and how it has to survive inside of it and eliminate key people. You know,
4, 5, 6 really feel to me.
At the whole time they're going, something about that just feels much more, I don't know, CSI or something like that, in a good way, in the best way.
Yeah, you say procedural. I think of them more as soap operas, even though I get the procedural because police and investigating, but there's so many reveals and flashbacks. Did you know? And Amanda was really behind this moment. Oh no! And then like my wife and this. Like, okay, it just feels not as dramatic as the production of a soap opera, but it's funny because this also reminds me of the Fast and Furious franchise, because that franchise also becomes very interconnected with their stories and bringing back other characters and connecting way back to this, and this was really that, and did you know? And then there's this twist here and that twist there. But I also consider the Fast and Furious franchise to operate kind of like a soap opera. And it's funny that the same things that kind of connect me to Saw, they're also both soap operas in a weird way. Not similar franchises, but I feel there's a strange kinship between them.
I think passion is missing for me in these next 3 movies, though, for me to call them soap opera, because one thing about soap operas is they're very passionate. They're very like, you know, open doors and just like, you know, like it's all the heightened melody. Like, I feel like that's why I felt 3 was like a soap opera. These feel much more procedural and much more like betrayal, but not betrayal of the heart, betrayal of like, you know, your position, of your station and stuff like that.
There's far less of a character going, and the camera pushing in. It's more the audience going, as the camera pushes in on us watching the reveal.
Sure. But, totally.
Yeah.
A huge mislead with Carrie's corpse from 3, though, because I remember thinking, for some reason, I thought like, how long has she been there? Like, and because she was almost unrecognizable, like it didn't look like the actress. It looked like, kind of like it looked like some time could have gone by, and maybe she just like, you know, rotted there until they found her, and, you know, which is terrible. And also because I don't really look, you know, especially if it's a character I like Carrie. So seeing, you know, her hang there, I don't want to look at her face. I don't want, I'm just looking at the people. It's true. But I didn't think like, oh, that should give me some kind of inkling of where we are. I mean, it really aligns it with 3. If you know what you're going through, you can just be kind of like, here they are. Maybe, who knows if it's hours later, who knows if it's the next day, but it's a lot sooner than I was thinking, like possibly weeks, because Saw 4, it must happen right on the heels of Saw 3, because the first thing that we see is a dead Johnny
body.
Jigsaw, and surely things plays out sequentially. That's the way movies work, even though there was no reason to believe that
Not in the Saw
this franchise.
Yeah.
No, not in the Saw franchise at all. I did laugh though when somebody get those rats off her. I don't know why. I thought it was silly. And it was one rat. It was one rat. But maybe Rig was too upset to count the rats.
Oh, I just created a little like imagine one of those rats was like Eric's rat. He's like, give Carrie my love. He pulls a Gandalf.
Forever. It will forever be Eric's rat now.
That's canon.
And Rig, and that's so, because Rig doesn't even know it. So Rig is just like, get those rats off her, that's the tragedy.
Rig
because the love, Rig doesn't know it's the love rat.
Yeah. Look up, and we need to go into the horror.wiki and create the love rat.
Yes.
Into the Saw universe.
It's a character now. It's canon.
I actually don't really have anything else to say about 4 other than I enjoyed it more than I remembered enjoying it. I enjoyed all 3 of these more than I remember enjoying it. It is because this franchise has so many trilogies. 1, 2, and 3 are like the Lee Winnell written trilogy. 2, 3, and 4 are the directed by Darren Lynn Bousman trilogy.
Yeah.
4 also kicks off because Lee Winnell wrote 1, 2, and 3, and then I got Patrick Melton and Marcus Dunstan write 4, 5, 6. So this really is its own trilogy.
Yeah, that was interesting to me as it developed, and I'll tell you why as we move through it. I do have a few more things that you can feel free to comment on. Well, I mean, I already mentioned how much I forgot that this was like Johnny Jigsaw's backstory, but also, I don't know, I kind of like the fact that he became his own patient zero in a way. It was presented like just, I don't know, something about the way, I can't even think about a specific example, but just something about the way he was presented made it seem more formal. And it didn't bother me. Sometimes that might bother me. I like ambiguity a lot of times, but I don't know. Something about having it spelled out didn't bother me. I wrote married couple because I think it was the ones who were connected by the rods, and the woman is like pulling out all the rods for a while. Because I completely forgot about that. That was an intense scene, and this is like what I'm getting at with like, I think I'm sad I forgot that was a thing, because it is brutal, sure, but the thing that isn't like kind of, it's not played for brutality. They're like, these are people, and I'm sitting there going, oh, and the special effects only boost that, but it's not purely exploitative, like making the special effects like the center of everything and just like, look how gross we can get it. And I thought this was that movie going into it, and I was really, really pleasantly surprised that it wasn't.
Yeah. Although I am really rooting for the fucking rapist to get, his limbs ripped off and his eyes gouged out.
Okay,
they sure gave me so much evidence of him being a rapist that I'm like, all right, almost too much evidence. Thank you very much. So kill that motherfucker.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that, because like, there's one thing he reminded me of like, just like that mentality, that weird apologetic mentality that used to be on like that show To Catch a Predator, where the second they get caught, they just become the victim, and they just start apologizing, and they just start swearing this is the first time they ever did anything like this. And he immediately shifted into a position like that. And at first, because before we got into the room, when he was just like, "Oh, please, I've stopped. I've gotten better. I'm not like that anymore," whatever he says. I almost didn't know whether to believe him or not. And then we get into that room and I'm just like, fuck you. Look how many, Jesus Christ. I mean, this is a thing. This is your thing. And no amount of denial. No, I'm glad he died. I'm glad that guy died. But
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but he was, yeah.
You
But
know,
at the same time, it still didn't feel, I mean, as grotesque. I feel like, yeah.
No, just in the concept of torture porn being something that torture porn fans find something satisfying. That's an instant in that movie where I'm like, well, yeah, and this one I sure do. Like in this,
but also it's not torture porny. Like I'm not sitting there going, yeah. I'm still going, but I'm not like, oh, what a terrible thing to happen to that man. I'm just kind of like, oh, that must hurt. But I mean, dude,
yeah.
You're not going to get any compassion from me. You're just like, the closest thing you'll get is just like when that thing goes in your eye, I go, ugh. And then when they pull your lips off, that's so ridiculous. I'm like, whoa. Okay. This is the thing I want to talk about though. This is something that I feel gets retconned a little bit later, but we'll talk about that. But it's just the thing, and maybe we should consider the source, but the fact that Jill Tuck in retrospect is looking back on why she and Johnny Jigsaw split up. And the one line that really bothered me, I mean, it's a whole speech, but the line that really bothered me when she just said, he blamed me. But everything that surrounded that speech suggested that he just couldn't handle it and that he blamed her for like trusting these people who shouldn't be trustworthy and all of that. And all I could think the more she discussed it was, wow, for the first time I thought, Johnny Jigsaw is a fucking asshole. And we're 4 movies in, never thought he was an asshole, thought he was crazy, thought he was power thirsty or hungry or whatever, just like erect with power and in a bad way. And also highfalutin, like really self-righteous and really like justified in his position to judge others and everything like that. Even though he's not killing anyone, he's still putting them in dire situations and telling himself, but it's what's right. And all of that I was looking for, but first time I thought, like, dude, when she says to him, I lost him too. I think it was Elliot, the name of their kid.
Gideon.
That we're gonna have some months in. And I was just like, Gideon. Why am I thinking Elliot? Anyway, Gideon. Elliot. 3-syllable names, has E's and O's in it. Elliot. And ouch. But just the fact that she felt that way and that I trusted her account to that because she was the one married to him really made me dislike Jigsaw, and also started to kind of unravel. It started to unravel like this argument that he makes, because we talked about this detachment, this almost Zen-like kind of quality about his work and everything like that. And almost like thinking it, like almost viewing it as a point of kind of serenity, or kind of like being removed from something in a divine kind of way. And for the first time with this movie, I thought, no, you're just a prick who got screwed in your own personal life, and now you're making everyone pay, but you're justifying it by telling yourself you're helping people. For the first time,
that's what I was kind of asking you last time, where I'm like, do you think he really believes this, or is he kind of full of shit, and does he maybe not know he's full of shit?
Right. That said, it gets developed a little bit later. I feel like it kind of gets retconned a bit, but we'll talk about that when we get to 5. Or are we on 5? Let me see. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, I really love the score when Johnny Jigsaw abducts Cecil. Because it's still the same score, but it's like slower and more methodical. I liked it. Yeah.
You know what else makes him kind of an asshole?
Yeah.
They do that flashback where I still feel like his name's Arthur, but Arthur, you know, the lawyer and his wife come and see him. At his warehouse. And he's like trying to beg him to like, don't leave. Like, doesn't he? I saw it like 3 days ago. That's already the specifics. But like, John was helping design, or he was a part of like an apartment complex, some sort of building for families.
Yes.
And he's like, no, don't leave the project. There's like there's like 20 families that are like looking to move in, and you're gonna fuck him over. And he's like, told you to leave. Get out of here. Go. I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
you're being an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is your job. You're an engineer, and there's families that. Okay, all right.
If someone else did that and neglected those families, he would justify putting them in one of those traps. He would be in the trap. Yeah.
Yeah.
So doesn't walk the talk, or figures I did my test. I did.
Yeah, I crawled out of my car.
My shit. Yeah, fuck that shit. The only other thing is, I think it's kind of a bummer now that we know Jeff dies just mere seconds after the end of Saw 3.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I don't know if that's I don't know. The way 3 ends with like, and now there's a test for you to save your daughter, and then it's like, fuck it. Because I just remember thinking like, well, are we gonna find out what happens to her? And then the fact that 4 runs parallel to 3, I'm like, well, then I guess we'll find out at the beginning of 5.
Right.
And then it's just like, I mean, they handle it, but it felt like that should have been its own scene and not just, oh, we answered that question for you. Fuck off. You know.
Well, it would have been really, really cool if, and this may show my hand for how I feel about 5. I mean, I don't anyway, but it would have been really, really cool because I actually like Strom. I like what gets kind of cultivated in Strom in this next movie. But
interesting.
It would have been cool if Strom, I do, but it would have been cool if Strom and Jeff never met, like after the end of 3, 4, and just kind of past, like sliding doors kind of thing, like, and Jeff went on with his, and then at some key point late in 5, while Strom is moving through the maze, as it were, he encounters Jeff trying to find his daughter. That would have been such a reveal. All of a sudden Jeff shows up and like, where's my daughter? It's just like, what? I don't know where your daughter is. What are you talking about? And like, that would have been
better,
amazing.
Way better.
I would have liked that. I would have liked that.
It is kind of a rug pull to be like, oh fuck it, he's dead. Oh
yeah. That I feel like the introduction in 5, now that I guess we're done with 4, right? Yeah. Cool. The introduction in 5 with Seth's kill with the pendulum and the hands getting crushed and everything. That's what I wrote. I was just like, this is what I don't know why thought all 4 and 5 was going to be composed of, was just kind of like hopeless kills, just like, I did it, I did what you asked of me, and anyway, it happened, and I'm just like, oh, there it is. That's what I remember. Maybe I was in a bad mood when I watched these. I don't know. Maybe I think I really missed Jigsaw as an active character too. I thought he was so interesting. I thought it was a mistake to kill him.
I'm genuinely well, if you're only kind of trying to make a trilogy, it's the fact it's only a mistake if the franchise decides to keep going. Because now you've got so many movies without him. I am genuinely satisfied though with the amount of screen time, maybe not alive screen time, but screen time we get with him in 4, 5, 6.
But this is when he really starts to get omniscient in this particular chapter.
I'll say.
Yeah.
Well, one of my first notes is, so in the beginning of the movie, Strom sees the door in the room from 3 and finds the tape. And the tape goes, "Hello, Agent Strom." And I'm like, what the fuck type of fucking, again, this magic BS that Jigsaw can just always think like this Batman Sherlock Holmes level of, I know exactly who is going to end up in this room and find this.
Yeah.
And then it turns out, fucking Hoffman's the one who put the tape there, not even Jigsaw, which is even a little ludicrous. But yeah.
And how did he know Strom was going to kill Jeff and Jeff wasn't going to kill Strom? Or was there a separate tape for Jeff if he survived?
Okay. Since you're asking that, I'm going to bring up one of the little things with this movie for me, which is that they addressed it sort of. I had that. I talked about magical Johnny Jigsaw in the last movie, and in the flashback, Hoffman says, "You're assuming this is when they're setting up the trap for 2."
Yeah.
In the house, he's like, "You're assuming this is going to play out the way you want it to," and John's like, "I assume nothing. I anticipate the possibilities and let the game play out." And I go, bullshit. And And he's like, well, why do you need Amanda in the game? And he's like, to ensure that the rules are followed. She won't make decisions for anyone. She'll just offer choices. And then Hoffman, I love that Hoffman's like, well, that's going to leave a lot to chance. And he's like, if you're good at anticipating the human mind, it leaves nothing to chance. Come on. That
it's a circle. It's full circle.
It's and I get it's like they were like, we're gonna write dialogue to address the fact that it seems like this is all impossible and that he's just that good at anticipating the human mind and that the way he sees things, there is no chance. I see the path. But I don't buy it. All that dialogue didn't assuage me.
No.
It didn't answer it for me. It just pissed me off all over again. It just made me call bullshit on this dialogue.
And that's when I feel like okay, that we knew we were going to make more Saws. Like it's like the same thing. Spoilers for the Insidious franchise, guys. I won't say the character, but if you've seen the Insidious movies, you know somebody dies really, really early who is kind of a crucial part of all 4 of the movies that have already come out at the time of this recording. And you realize the filmmakers probably realized, no, that was a mistake. We probably shouldn't have killed off that character that early. And I almost feel like they're doing the best they can. And I'm sometimes it's very impressive, the work they do, but they're doing the best they can to keep a franchise going without like the key component, the kinetic catalyst of everything to keep it in motion.
In order to keep it in motion, it has to all be a plan that has been forethought and now carried out 2 movies, 3 movies later. Although I will say this, Eddie, that's part of the charm of these of 4, 5, 6 is the ridiculous lengths. Like it's almost a feature, not a bug sort of thing. But like that is the kind of fun of it. It's just like how much taffy they get to pull to try to do the mental gymnastics about how Jigsaw had all this shit planned out, all of this stuff planned out, and not only planned out, but then he knew how all these people would behave. Oh, and the more complex it gets,
even down to like I'm gonna exit. Yeah, no, but even down to like I'm gonna exit a room. And instead of turning left, I'm going to go right. Or if I see a dead body, I'm not going to step over it. I'm going to search it and find a tape, like wherever he was that, because I still don't know how Strom found that, because I didn't want to rewind it, but Strom found his own little tape player at the end of the tableau after he kills Jeff, and he finds his tape player and starts playing it. And I'm just like, how did you, or no, it's not after that. It's when he returns there again, finds a tape player. And I'm like, how did they know you were going to go back to this room? And how did they know you were going to like look in this particular corner? It's a dark room. There's no lights on at that particular moment. And he just finds it and then starts playing and assumes it's for him and not for somebody else. It's so, yeah.
And you say, how did they know? And to which I tell you, I anticipate the possibilities and I let the game play out. Because when you are good at anticipating the human mind, nothing is left to chance. Like, okay, that's
Christ.
Eddie. That's the answer.
That's so mansplaining. That said, one thing that I'm really impressed by, this is one of the first things that actually everything else snowballed with Strom. This is why, because he didn't impress me in the last movie very much. I actually he seemed to have, I don't know, be tight and whatever. And
he seemed to have.
I was sad about, he seemed to be uptight. He seemed to have a stick up his ass. Okay. So, it was nice when he was in his own trap, because I thought he was going to try to break the glass or whatever, which would have been stupid. But I mean, you're panicking. I would have understood it, even if he tried to like break it from half. But the fact that he gave himself his own tracheotomy. I mean, respect, because that takes courage to say the least. Like,
and if any other person was doing that, I would, because we can sit on our couch, we wouldn't just do this, but he's been following this case enough
Yeah.
that he knows the game, he knows it's at stake, and can just make that decision. Whereas, other characters don't, and then they die or something bad happens, and then in hindsight, like, why didn't you do that? Or if you did do it, like, why would you think to do it? But he gets to just, yeah.
I mean, I'm holding my pen right now and it's making me uncomfortable. I'm like, don't want it anywhere near my neck. Like, it really bothered me because I don't like it. I don't like it. But apparently this works. If anybody ever, don't do it. Don't
Right.
don't give yourself a tracheotomy. But I also wrote, I love Jill's knowing glance at Johnny Jigsaw's video message when she's like, when they did take the VHS and put it in the VCR, and she's just kind of like looking at it. And I'm just kind of like, you're probably, he's going to give you a mission. He's going to give you like some shit you need to follow. And she's just got this incredibly knowing glance on her. And that's what brings, okay, Johnny Jigsaw. In the video, he makes his amends to Jill, which felt like kind of at least cleanup from the last movie where she felt like, he thought it was her fault and everything like that. He kind of owned his shit and apologized. Made like a real apology. And I liked that. Then even later in the movie, okay, this is when I started to get a little confused. She comes to the whole facility, the fortress, the compound that he's built for himself, knows where to find him.
The Fortress of Jigsolitude. It just popped in there, man, right now.
Greatness. You all witnessed greatness. I want you to remember where you are, what you're wearing.
When you first heard the Fortress of Jigsolitude.
That needs to be canon too. That's great.
Right? Holy shit. Go on.
So makes it to the Fortress of Jigsolitude. Yes, so she makes it there. And there's Amanda in her little burgundy top her part 3 top that she wears. So we know where we are in that story. He's about to get pushed in, and they're about to get Dr. Lynn in to like take care of him and everything like that. And he's talking about, we haven't much time and all that shit. But Amanda leaves them alone and they're talking. And at that particular point, I'm like, they even start talking like she's almost speaking to him. I think she's trying to tell him to stop. Like, you don't need to do this. He's like, oh, I don't need to do that, whatever. And the whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, I have no idea what the context of the relationship is at this particular moment. I am so confused. There has been so much lore and so much like kind of interweaving of timelines. I got a little lost. I just thought like, okay, it's before he dies, but after they lost everything. So maybe this was like the beginning of his amends, and then the tape was what just kind of sealed it. But they really wanted, I felt, to backpedal her being blamed for something that was not her fault with the loss of the pregnancy.
Right.
And to show they really do love each other in spite of it all, kind of a thing.
Right.
And I didn't mind it.
Like we need them to have that relationship, so we have to fix this in order to make it work.
Also, because people aren't going to sympathize with him if they think all of this happened because he blamed his wife for getting a door pushed against her stomach by a junkie. Like, that's really a really weak foundation for such an otherwise interesting character.
They're not valuing their lives, and you're
oh, that
you're allowing them.
Jesus Christ! You say something for a while, because
I can say something for a while.
Go ahead.
Okay, well,
please do. God.
Well, I forgot completely when Megan Good shows up on screen. I'm like, Megan Good was in this?
Right.
And then Julie Benz shows up and I'm like, Julie Benz is in this?
In a bad wig.
In a wig that you could totally tell is a wig?
That was fun.
Yeah. It even had, there were certain times where, like, you know, when you first put a wig on and maybe it's not pulled, and that lump in the back and you need to pull it. Like, there was a little lump in sometimes in like the wide shots. I'm like, ooh, we need to fix that.
Well, also you can tell it's not real hair. It's like so synthetic that it's like reflecting light in a way real hair doesn't. And
I noticed
you can't condition it to make it look better.
I honestly had to tell myself No, the character is wearing a wig. I had to tell myself that because it just. That's what I had to do to make it work.
You are giving me life and tools to revisit this franchise over and over again, and be
there's
okay
a love
with
rat
stuff.
And of course she's not going to take the wig off. Everyone's seen. She's, she'll still look a mess, so she has to leave it on.
Exactly.
She's
Yeah,
already doing
keeping
these
up
traps
appearances.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of the things I found refreshing about this is I like this group. I instantly thought this is a better group than I don't even remember. Did we even have like a group in 4? No. 4 is Rig going through people. 2, where the tape goes off and it's like, you should all do this and figure this out. And they're like, well, fuck this. I'm leaving this room, and fuck you, and stab, fight. Did we instantly start with this group? And they're like, well, okay, hold on. This is connected to that. Okay. Well, he says we're all connected. Like, what do you do? What do you do? I'm like, oh my God, you're stopping talking.
Yeah.
Talking. You're thinking and you're trying to figure something out. This fucking group. If I'm going to be stuck in that situation, I want to be with these people and not Xavier pushing me into a fucking vat of syringes. Like, give me this.
And nobody else taking any kind of initiative or putting him in his place in an effective way. That said, I did write, the first time I saw them in this movie, I did write a note in all caps with 3 question marks. Another group trap. I do think it's superior to the 1 and 2.
Superior to 2.
Absolutely. I do agree with that.
And 2, well, in 3 we had one guy dealing with things set up for him. 4, we had one guy going through people set up for him. I'm fine with another group trap. I like that they showed the layout where it wasn't because they just keep finding a warehouse or a house that we can convert. But here it was just like room. We even see the little like mock-up model. I'm like, okay, I buy this.
Yeah.
One thing, and it turned out like I was kind of ahead of the movie because I didn't remember shit from 5. Not a
me neither.
Damn thing.
Me neither.
But I'm watching the scene. The first person goes forward, breaks the thing, gets the key. Second person goes forward and gets the key. And around the third person, I thought, well, the boxes are so close to each other, you could just smash the one next to it, and you could save time and smash the boxes, and now you've all got the keys faster. And then
you have to trust somebody.
Yeah, no, but just like smash, here's your key. So I realized that like by the time they get to the second room, they could be 5, not 4. If they just had smashed the other, like the box next to you. So now only 3 people need to go forward, or worst case 4. Anyway, so we get to the next room with the like a firebomb's gonna go off. You need to hide in these cylinders in the wall.
Sure.
And again, with these 4 people and 3 cylinders, and I just thought, well, 2 of you could go in one. Like not to like you ladies are smaller than that dude and that dude. You 2 could fit in there. Okay, I guess we're not.
Yeah.
Like, and then it turns out as things keep going that they're like, oh no, you were all supposed to be working to get like the challenge was, and again, to ignore your instincts and work it out. I'm like, okay, so because I just kept going, this just doesn't feel like this was all avoidable. And then it turns out Johnny Jigsaw is like, this could have been all avoidable. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So I'm okay, got it. Also, tiny nitpick, but it's a thing that happens in movies all the time. And I don't condone CinemaSins, like the brand, but I do consider what I'm about to tell you is a CinemaSin. I hate in movies, and it happens all the time, when fire doesn't behave like fire, when fire is treated like a force and not something that consumes combusts oxygen. Yeah. If you get in a cylinder and that firebomb goes off, the fire doesn't just whoosh past your little door. No. It burns the oxygen that you are in there with, and you're all dead. Yes. But it does that thing where someone hides behind a rock and the fire just goes around them. Or you hide behind a pillar and the fire goes around the pillar.
Or you're running away from an explosion, and the second the explosion goes off, you jump. And that way it just propels you forward instead of explodes you.
And you're not singed.
And there's no shrapnel. There's nothing. There's no debris.
Yeah.
There's just, I mean, it's all going around you, but it doesn't go through you. It doesn't wound you. It doesn't anything.
That's a whole different thing as far as how the heat affects you, how much it repels you, the shrapnel. I'm simply talking about when people hide behind a pillar and the fire goes around the pillar and there's this little stream of no fire. And I go, is there oxygen in that space? Then you're dead. And this movie did movie fire, you know.
Yeah, I love that. Also, I have to say, like, you bringing up like the fact that you were a few steps ahead, because I wasn't, you know me, I don't, especially if I don't remember anything, which I didn't. I really try not. It's not even that I have to try. I just don't think that way. I just don't think ahead of the movie. Something has to be so poorly written and such a hack job that I'm sitting there going like, that's what's going to happen, and then it happens, and I'm like, kill me. Just this life isn't worth living if this is what movies are. But this didn't give me that so much as I think it was just a little less enthusiastic. I mean, it still was better than I remember for sure. This movie,
I had a great time with it, actually.
I mean, I had fun. But that said, we had just come off of another movie where someone was told, like, just follow the rules and everything will go your way, and he doesn't, and then he fucks it all up. And I thought when it happened to Rig, it was really effective, and I actually enjoyed the parallel between him and Eric, because they were, in my mind, in two peas in a pod, so it made sense for them to have similar lessons. I didn't like the fact that here it's the fifth movie and it's the third time we're kind of recycling this. You should have just followed the rules the whole time, and then what? And
I don't have a problem with that. To me, that's Jigsaw's MO at this point. No. Aside from one where, like, it's just like two dudes in a room and, you know, there is no thing to follow. You need to get out. I'm fine with it. That seems to be his post-suicide sort of MO. I'm fine with it.
I don't like it. Yeah, I mean, you were ahead of it. Especially with this cast. I just sat there going like, well, this again. Well, I mean, the cast was good, but okay. I will say that was one thing that actually really impressed me by the end, was the fact that when it comes to the point where Julie Benz and the
guy,
what do you call it? Yeah, the junkie guy, the one with the silver spoon in his mouth. There's that thing. Oh, the trust fund junkie. That's what I was calling him. When the fact that they're both like kind of realizing we all could have like spared each other, and, you know, they actually learned the lesson from that, which I thought was cool. And they both put their hands. I thought if this were Saw 2, they would be wrestling each other, trying to force each other's hands in there, and one of them forcing the other person's two hands in there just to make sure that they can get it. So the fact that the people who were left standing actually learned the lesson, and that it happened because, I mean, I love Julie Benz, and the other actor was fine, but she really took the lead of that group, especially once Megan Good was gone. And I felt like I bought that this character would have absorbed the information and processed it into a point where, you know what, we deserve some kind of punishment. We've been terrible people. We can change, we can live our lives, but we do need to both do this at the same time. The fact they both were in agreement of it, that was refreshing. That was something that actually saved the movie. I mean, that particular, because it is like three different movies going on.
And I was waiting, actually,
flashback between fucking Hoffman's other thing.
I was actually waiting for a twist on that, because they both put their hands in, and I remember they definitely show his hand, and I think they showed hers. But what I found really weird is that they just focused on him constantly. They kept cutting back to his hand, they kept cutting to his face, they kept rotating around him back to his hand, and I'm like, are you gonna fucking reveal that she pulled her hand out and that's why we're just staying on him this whole time, is because we're allowing? And then I thought she was gonna like take her hand out and just like jam, like put her weight on him and just force his fucking arm in, and then finally she pulls her, and I'm like, oh, you didn't, because I thought what if you have that nice speech and then she's full of shit?
Yeah.
And I'm glad that she wasn't.
Yeah, me too.
If anything, but it's curious why they, as a production, why they don't focus on, I don't know if it's just like do we need to show a woman being tortured this much? Or if it's, I don't know, if it's some sort of woke sense, or did it just not decide to shoot the coverage, or the footage wasn't good? But like, it's all him. It's never her. And even in the like mediums of him screaming. It's just her in the background, kind of going like,
Well, I'd be really curious to know if there was like an alternate ending or something where she did kind of like either whatever exactly what you're imagining or exactly what we both kind of anticipated would happen in a scenario where they're just like, killing each other. Maybe she would pretend to have an epiphany. Maybe there was no epiphany and they both decided to go for it and then she cheats him, whatever. And maybe they thought, you know what, like this end of this movie as it is so bleak, which it is.
mm,
Because essentially Hoffman wins at the end of this. That was something I really didn't like. When I was watching this, I was just like, okay, everything about your recruitment, all of that flashback shit between you and Jigsaw, I don't find interesting at all. Because like I said, I don't find Hoffman interesting before or after being recruited by Johnny Jigsaw. So the fact that he's getting away with it and that's the end of the movie, and maybe I did like at the ready, because if I did, I have a feeling it would have been like, what? He better die.
maybe what?
Maybe I didn't have Saw 6 on DVD when the first time I watched this. Sorry. Because maybe I didn't have it at the ready, because if I did, I have a feeling I would have wanted to put the DVD in as soon as 5 was over, push it in and just be like, show me Hoffman dying. That's all. All I want, because it is just so fucking bleak. Strom is so thoroughly framed by the end of this, also, and because I was impressed with the Drake thing, I was impressed with the fact that he continued on, and I didn't see the writing on the wall that he was kind of like helping Hoffman angle all the framing toward him.
All your investigation makes it look like you are obsessing,
right?
Yeah.
But and also plus that actor though, I didn't write his name down, but whoever played Strom sold that post-Drake voice to me. Everything. I was just like, I can hear the pain, like I can hear the recovery. Good for you, because I don't know how you fake that without making it sound like you're faking it. So there you go. There's that.
I've seen other horror movies. I feel like where like everybody dies, and like then Jason or Leatherface is just a pile of dead bodies around the end. But there's something about this where like Strom is our protagonist. He is right to suspect Hoffman.
Yeah.
And he dies for it, and then Hoffman lives the end. And I wouldn't say I was upset, but I'm like, fuck, this is like bad guy wins, good guy dies, the end. And if it wasn't for the fact that I knew that, like, there's gonna be a 6 and we're gonna keep going, and Hoffman will eventually probably get his comeuppance. But even if you saw it in theaters, I'll never forget the first time I was in high school. I was talking about how much I love Empire Strikes Back to this teacher of mine, and my teacher was like, I hate Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
What?
Right.
She's like, let me guess. You grew up watching on VHS? I go, yeah. She's like, so you didn't have to wait 3 years to find out what happened to Han, did you? I was like, no. She was like, yeah, that ending really didn't fly when you're seeing it in theaters in 1980. I was like, oh. And I can see like the ending of Saw 5 for someone like you being like, what the fuck? Even if you have to wait a year, you're like, I have to wait a year to find out what happens to this asshole.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been, and especially the fact that, like, again, it's a horrible triumph. Like, it's one thing if Jigsaw survives to the end and walks out and says game over and all that stuff. That's one thing. It's another thing if this dickwad, who I don't have any interest in, gets to sit there smiling all smugly,
right? Because it is a triumph, but he's such a schmuck and such a dick.
Yeah.
I do, since we're talking about,
I'm even glad. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you finish it, because I'm going somewhere.
Okay, because I'm even glad that Strom had the epiphany about Hoffman, but the thing that pissed me off about it was another fucking flashback montage where we see like all the things, and I'm like, we've already seen this, and I knew he was the bad guy back in 3, so I don't need to see all of this, and it really doesn't warrant it. There's no great reveal here. I mean, yes, I understand it's a reveal for Strom, but for those of us watching the movie, we'd like to keep the movie going, please. We don't need all this flashback fantasy bullshit.
Well, this movie to me, this one and 6, but especially this one, but yeah, 5 and 6. I don't want to say they're jarring, but like, I really feel a separation of like, here is this separate group of people fighting their way through a trap or something. Now, bam, police procedural stuff, and then bam, flashback, and then like I could have done a whole movie of just Megan Good, Julie Benz, like Saw 1 style, where that's like your A story, and maybe we're gonna cut to the police and some flashbacks a little bit, but we're still driven by. I really could have enjoyed more time with those people and unraveling why they're there. Or I could have done a whole movie of police and suspecting Hoffman and piecing all the things together. They're all strong enough, but I really felt like I was being yanked back and forth, and I could have just done with a little more and a little bit less of one of them. And then you throw in the flashbacks, because the flashbacks,
yeah.
But to me, that's what, again, that's the charm of 456 is the constant flashing back to, well, actually, did you know that this was this back then, and this guy was, and I'm like, oh yay, this is great. Give me all the dumb reveals and flashbacks. I love it. We're talking about Strom. One thing that really kind of threw me for a loop, and I had this feeling for two major scenes. Strom goes, because he goes to two major, like he goes to the guillotine location.
Yeah.
And then I think he goes back to the facility. Yeah. He pieces it all together, Eddie, with zero fucking evidence. He will go to a place, and then the movie will flash back, but it's not even his story. It's like a Hoffman flashback, but we're seeing it when Strom is visiting somewhere. So it's like Strom is learning it, but he's not learning it from any evidence. He's just imagining it. He has files of victims and documentation of like, oh, these are the people that died. And he'll be like, oh, okay. But that's just reports. And even if you go through the reports and maybe go like, okay, well, Hoffman's sister was killed by this guy, and then this guy died.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he can just make it's not a suspicion. He makes the connection as if he found a shred of evidence. And then he'll leave the room, and I'm like, well, he didn't, there's no evidence. Like, if you were just going on conjecture. And I wrote down the word location imagination, because then he'll just go to a location, and then he'll flash back to Hoffman talking to Jigsaw and all this shit. And then he'll and then he'll cut back to him with this determined face. And I'm like, but you haven't learned anything. We just saw a flashback, and you just imagined some shit. And he's so determined. But if he went to the chief of the FBI and was like, Hoffman's doing it, it's like, how do you know? It's like, I just imagined it. Because he has no actual evidence at all, and he's carrying on like he does. It is so funny to me. It's confounding, because he's on this path. He's on this path like he has the truth. He doesn't have a single thing.
I didn't think about it like that at all. I feel
Go
like
watch
I've
it
been
again.
Conditioned. No, of course. No, I agree with you. I'm not saying it's not like that, but I didn't, as I was sitting there watching it, I think I wanted him to succeed so much. I was just kind of like, exactly. I think probably watching Hannibal, the series, conditioned me somewhat to expect everybody to be a Will Graham. And to just move into a space and be able to go, the killer walked in here. He limped off his left foot, and he hates his wife, so he didn't say anything to her. He just went straight upstairs, like something like that. So I don't know, but now that you say again, like you're bringing up, I will say this. I'm really, really glad I revisited, particularly 4 and 5, because it refreshed my opinion of them. I don't bad. I did think so before, and I feel like what it was based on was absolute. Huh?
You didn't think what so before?
I didn't think that 4 and 5 were. I thought 4 and 5 were bad movies before. I don't now. Yeah. But that said, neither one of them are really among my favorites of the franchise right now, just because I watched them both last night, back to back, 4 and 5. And already I'm losing a lot, like I'm trying to remember stuff. I'm looking at stuff I wrote and I'm going, what did I mean by that? Like, what did I watch? So it's not, and I didn't have that really, I don't think, with the first trilogy. Because I perceive them, because there's much much more procedural stuff in terms of like someone needs to go pursue something, they go pursue it, they come up against an obstacle, they try to overcome it, and they're driven by the desire to find out the truth or whatever, or to conceal the truth, whatever that may be. Whereas the first, I won't say the first three, I'll say 1 and 3 in particular for me are much more about motives and about intentions and about secrets and and reveals, and I mean it's just so much more. There's just more passion there for me to kind of like hook into, and maybe that's what I remember as an audience member, because that's what I watch movies for. I think predominantly. And with these movies, I think I got a lot of stuff happening. Doesn't mean I didn't care what was happening. It just means I don't remember it all after I see it, and I just saw both these movies, and I was wide awake. I was not sleepy.
Eddie, I watched 5 and 6 today, just before we started recording, and or like an hour or two before we started recording, and I watched 4 2 days ago.
Yeah.
When I started to watch 5 today, I was like, hold on, let me watch like a summary of 4 again. Okay. 2 days ago, and I needed a refresh, because especially when sometimes you kind of forget. Like I remember like forgetting like, oh, so 3 opened with Eric getting out, and then by the time we cut back to the end of, we see more of Eric getting out. I was like, oh, I couldn't even remember if that opening scene was from the beginning of 3 or the end of 2. Like, and so Hoffman's with the dead body with the dick and the tape recorder, and his like, we come back to that so many times. Like, was that in fucking 4? Was it the beginning of 5? Or was it the It becomes kind of a mishmash, especially when the movies themselves are flashing back to the setup of the Trap of 2 or the setup of the we're constantly. It's I imagine fans who are watching these theatrically had to revisit them before each one, or they were just that hardcore into the lore. But it becomes so much lore and plotting, and a little bit less about character. But there is I have a few little tiny notes here. Speaking of just little character things, I appreciate that. So they're in the room with the fire chambers and the keys and the doors, and the British guy beats the shit out of the fucking trust fund junkie. And Megan Good's like, hey, and he hits her and knocks her down. He's like, don't you know, bitch, it's survival of the fittest. And I'm like, whoa, guy, whoa. I really, really like that Megan Good fucking goes after him, and she's like, fucking survival of the fittest. And I'm like, yes. This is what I want to see out of my fucking female protagonists. Don't take that shit. Fuck that dude. So fuck him up and quote him when you do it. I was so happy when that fucking guy died. Survival of the fittest. I agree. Fuck you. Fuck you.
I agree. Yeah.
Speaking of fuck you, Hoffman coming out with the kid so that like everyone's dead and I'm the lone survivor. But not only am I the lone survivor, but like I saved the kid from the Jigsaw thing.
I'm a hero.
It screamed, but I have a child. Like, I just see as such a, like, if I already didn't like Hoffman, fuck, did I really not like Hoffman carrying that kid out? And the fact that little girl's like, where's my mommy? Like, where's my daddy? It's like, fuck you. Like,
also, can we just point out how fucking long it took Erickson? I mean, it will spill to the next movie, but how fucking long it takes Erickson to even suspect that Hoffman is guilty. It's the man that they're looking for. I mean, this is his job.
Oh, yeah.
And it never occurred to him, well, he got out without a scratch and saved a little girl and looked shocked as fuck when the other person who he was saying, he didn't make it, he's dead. And then it's just like, well, there he is, and he performed a trach on himself. Did you see him dead? That felt sloppy to me. It's like Hoffman should have been in a room, get it out. You said that Strom was dead. Did you see him die? What did you see? Describe. Like, they would have put all of the survivors under like surveillance, and questioned every one of them.
Even without a verbal thing, he would have had to file a report. You know what I mean?
and none of that happened. So
Yeah, I
that's
think
another
the
thing that,
movie kind of skips over that
yeah.
a little bit.
Just like, well, glad you survived, Hoffman. Glad to have you back on board. Now, is there anything suspicious you've seen? Stupid.
I also have this written down.
Yeah.
At some point in the movie, I don't know if he's. I didn't write the rest of the scene. All I know is the scene triggered me to write this word down. Rehabilitated, but like he's either talking about Amanda or he's talking about just his methods. He talks about how like this works and that people are rehabilitated.
Mm-hmm.
And to which I said just in the last video, are they? Because the only one we've really seen is
Right.
Amanda, and she's a murderous psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think it's so funny that he believes, even in part 5, he's like, oh, it works. They're rehabilitated.
Right.
Bullshit. I call bullshit on you, sir. And the other bullshit, I meant to bring this up in 3, and I forgot to. And thankfully, I can bring it up again because it came up in 5. In 5, he says, killing is distasteful. And in 3, he specifically says, I don't condone murder, and I despise murderers. I think you are a hypocrite. And I don't mean that because, you put people in a trap and he says you have a choice and I'm saying it's a murder trap. I don't mean that. I mean, specifically, sometimes the traps require the person to murder. Like in 2, in 1, Amanda's thing requires her to get the key out of the dead body, and then the twist, is that it's a live body.
Right.
If you despise murder so much, why do your traps involve murder?
Yeah.
To me, I think, at least with the case of Amanda, that wasn't written in 1. But when you have him saying that shit in 2 and 3 and 5 and stuff, it kind of contradicts the movie you're starting from a bit.
Oh, it stands too. Like, that's not the only case where there's a trap that was set up with the intent. I mean, with Johnny Jigsaw's intent.
Right. Not Amanda
like
going, fuck you, or not Hoffman, but actual Jigsaw traps.
Yes, absolutely. Where one person has to die, I get maybe they're guilty, but now you're executing them, or you're giving somebody else the power to execute them. Where was their test? Like, we haven't seen them fail their test. Is that why they're bound and gagged? And well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
But
so I just think it's incredibly hypocritical. Anytime he talks about like killing is distasteful or I despise murderers, I'm like, bitch, you are one.
He's very selective with his judgments and his very self-righteous.
Yeah,
it's the word. It's a good word for him.
That's all I have for 5.
Me too.
But let me end by just saying this. For some reason in my head, I have no evidence for it. I just in my head remember 4 being a bad one. And I was really surprised by how much I liked the group, how much I was engaged with their rooms and to get out, how much I was engaged with following Strom trying to solve this, even though he's imagining half of it through flashbacks for us. I actually had a really good time with it. I'm curious when all this is done to read other people's like lists of best to worst, because I actually had a good time with 5.
Yeah.
Oh, and I don't remember who directed it here. But because
5 was
David Hackle.
Yeah, David Hackle.
David Hackle, and then for 6, which we're about to talk, Kevin Greutert. I just remember, especially when we started with 5, the first time 5 started going, wow, 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 and quick cuts, like, oh, okay, we're doing that still. Like, it's Darren Bousman's gone, but we're still okay. So that's staying with the franchise. Cool. But one thing you can't deny is that even though James Wan made that first movie, Saw as a franchise is defined by Darren Bousman and the template he set with 2, 3, and 4. Because
I agree.
It almost became, no offense to these directors, but like when most American network television has a certain look, no matter who the director is, we're following what the producers are guiding the show to be week to week to week. Sure. And it really felt like Saw the TV series where it's like, okay, you're coming in, but it's got to do that Darren Lynn Bousman thing. It's got to look and fucking feel like Saw. Every room that we go to has to have the walls with like brown and rust painted on it, and everything needs to be. And then we have to do a flashback at the end. That flashback's the movie, and we quick cut to everyone's faces, and we quick cut to everything. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. It is what it is. And we get that with 6. That's fun.
Yeah.
I remember right off the bat talking about 6. It's so weird. In 5, when Hoffman is getting like commended or whatever for his work.
Oh Jesus.
They cut to just like a crowd shot of the press, and there's a blonde lady, and it's just, and I went, oh, is she gonna have a scene in a moment? Because like she popped in a way that like the brown-haired dude sitting in front of her didn't pop, and the guy to her left and the guy to her right didn't pop. And then she's for the whole rest of 5. I went, oh no. And then she shows up front and center in 6, and I just went, oh. Like we were saying before, it's so fun when you get cast in a Saw movie. It doesn't matter if it's like I play a cop with 2 lines. You get to come back and have more to do. And this lady really gets to come back and have more to do.
Pamela Jenkins, the
you
reporter.
Could have not even had her in 5. The way she functions in 6, you didn't need to have her in the press room of 5.
I'm amazed that she's popped out to you, because she didn't pop out to me.
Oh, really?
I didn't remember her. I was just like, oh, new character. All right.
Eddie, it might just be my hetero eyes. I was like, oh, there's a pretty blonde. Because I instantly like, oh, that pretty blonde. You know.
Yeah.
But you didn't need to plug her into 5. But I'm glad they did. That's cool.
Yeah, me too. Before we get into all that though, like that whole opening kill thing with the grindy helmets. Okay. I mean, with the screws that are like screwing into there and everything. Okay. Were you as exasperated as I was at the woman who was picking? There's clearly
a cleaver,
meat cleaver right there,
and then she picks up the little hunting knife instead.
Starts just like and like and it's like there is a cleaver right there. You're gonna have to hack maybe like 2-3 times. But and then she did a whole lot, and I really loved her cleaving face. My God, it was and everything was amazing. But I was screaming, grab the cleaver, and I it was excruciating how long it took her to finally do that. Like it's the last straw. So already I was just kind of like, I remember this movie. I remember liking it. And I was like, oh no, is this going to like swing in the other direction where it's like I remember liking something and then I watch it and I'm like, oh, I guess I was wrong about this one too. Because that just I don't know. It wasn't like a deal breaker for me, but it did bother me. I was like, is this the way we're entering? But then we got into the William Easton or Eastman. I can't remember who his last name is, but William. Hello, William. With Umbrella Health and everything like that. And I had forgotten this entire angle, but as I was watching it, I remembered watching other content creators discuss this particular leg of the franchise. And a lot of people, and even in social circles, talking about this movie with people. And there are a lot of people who disliked this one. And their reason, it was ringing in my head. I heard a lot of people give the reason that because it's all they decided to be political and make it all about health insurance and stuff like that. And I in my Saw movie, you know, and I was like, it's so smart. I really loved the direction this movie took, Eddie, as far as with regard to all of that.
I often hear people regard Saw 6 as one of the best.
Cool.
For precisely the reasons you're describing. I often hear a lot of people, and just I haven't watched a lot of like best of lists, but I'll watch like videos that just talk about like horror movies or horror kills, you know?
Yeah.
And like when it comes, and so when you bring up a movie, you know, and you'll say like, oh, Texas Chainsaw 2, like the often well-regarded, you know, like there'll be like a little, and people like when Saw 6 comes up, it's like fan favorite Saw 6, or considered by many to be one of the best Saw 6. So, and I mean, I have 3 more to go, but I would agree. I actually really like Saw 6 quite a bit.
Me too. Great deal. A great deal.
Refreshingly, because it had an angle.
Yeah.
Because something maybe I didn't appreciate when I saw it when I was, so wait, 2005, 2007, 2008, 2009. I didn't really
Yeah.
appreciate then, but I am painfully aware now of what a shit state the American healthcare system is
Yeah.
in. So having our lead
Hmm.
not only be part of a healthcare company, but to
Hmm.
really put on Front Street how they operate, and we all know pretty much how they operate. It's not in their best interest, it's a business.
Yeah.
Human lives are a business. Human health is a business
Hmm.
in this country.
Hmm.
And the point of a business is to make money, not lose money. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but to literally have like when you're a business where your clients are people who are paying you monthly things, and then your whole goal is to not pay out if you don't have to, and find ways to not pay for processes and surgeries. Um, to set these certain rules where people come to you for health care,
Hmm.
to have that spinning wheel of his employees begging him for their fucking health, their life, like their fucking healthcare. I'm like, that's like, if you're gonna make a Saw movie, like here's a point, like here's a metaphor, here is an intention, and you're saying something with it. And I mean, God bless the other movies; they are what they are. And five dealt with it a little bit because they were housing property people who were screwing people over, but it
Yeah.
was so direct. Like you lit a building on fire to get
Yeah.
people out. It was more
Yeah.
on Front Street and avoidable. Whereas this is a different kind of insidious, where it's your job to like let people die. And
Right.
no, I appreciated the fuck out of that for this movie. It's
Oh,
why this
so did
movie's so
I.
good.
Well, okay. Another thing that I appreciated was the way it unfolded in a way that introduced the characters to us like in their daily lives before
Yes.
we saw any kind of trace of a or a test
They
or
didn't
anything
they
like
didn't wake
that.
up in a trap
And a
and then we
trapper or test
flash
or anything
back.
like that.
Yeah.
No, no, I really liked getting to know them, getting an impression of them, particularly the second I saw the dog pit, because like I said, I didn't remember anything about this movie except that I think I liked it. And when I saw the dog pit get introduced, and I was like, oh, there's six of them. Oh shit, is there going to be another group thing where like all six of them are the ones because they're the horrible people or whatever? And then when I saw them on that fucking carousel, and the whole way it was conducted, the way they turned against each other, but it wasn't in like, how can I put this? It was predictable, but not in a slug kind of way. I didn't feel like, fuck, seen it, like over it, like the way I did even
Right.
with Saw 2, like where I was just kind of like, God, this is already tedious. There's no reason for any of it. Like you literally, it's because I felt like I was watching actual people in an actual situation being prompted to turn against one another, because not only is it a life and death kind of stakes, but you know truths about your coworkers.
Yes.
You know secrets they keep from the boss. So if it's going to save your life, you're going to say what you have to. And if you're an asshole and someone you know is telling the truth, um, you might tell your boss that they're lying, because then he'll kill them and spare you. I don't know. I thought it was, the reality of it was palpable. It was one of my two favorite kills in this movie, and it was one of the most effective kills of the franchise. That's impressive, saying that like now that we're
Right.
in movie 6.
Well, and also it
Yeah.
looks so absurd to me. Like I remembered there being a carousel and just going like, yeah, didn't we used to just have like two people in a room and like a box or something? And then now it's like there's like a carousel of death. And it turns out I remembered it poorly because it's a very
Mm,
effective. I mean, it's a very simple gun
yeah.
mechanism.
Yeah.
And again, like it's one thing when you have clients coming into your office
Hmm.
stating their case, begging for their
Yeah.
life. And now you have
Yeah.
them stating their case. But also like when it's their job to find like the reason why, when they are literally in a working in a circle. So I
Mm,
love that the symmetry of them dying in a circle and working in a circle, but
right.
in their own way of like having to state their case. Now, I just thought
Hmm.
and also you already talked about the performances. Um, I love the two women who were saved, like the way they are grateful, the way they say thank you.
Yeah.
I just 1000% believe it. Like they had some really, really good
Yes.
actors in this, including
Yes.
isn't that the fucking brother from Family Matters?
Oh my God, you might be right.
I think it is.
Didn't look it up. I don't know.
I
Okay.
am
It looked
98% certain. I don't
okay.
remember
It
his
could be
name.
him.
I just remember his Laura's older brother.
Yeah. That's all. I didn't watch the show, so
Oh, because there's an older
I know who
brother.
you're talking about. I know who you're talking about. I just didn't watch with regularity, so I can't confirm or deny the way I could with a show I would watch with regularity.
Speaking of TV, I just want to point out that the girl in the opening scene,
Yeah.
trying to remember her name. I'm just going to look it up right now.
Simone.
At the
The
time,
character's name is Simone.
Simone. I was either Tanedra Howard. I was kind of invested in her. Even I didn't see it in theaters. 7 was the first one I saw in a theater since 1, but I rented this one, and I was interested because I really liked the reality competition show Scream Queens. I don't know if you ever saw it.
No.
And the actress who played Amanda would show up on it. I don't remember if she was the host or not.
Oh.
But it was a competition show with a group of actresses. I prefer actors; they're just female actors, but all women actors.
Yeah.
And every week they have like these fucked up kind of stunty challenges and acting challenges. And the winner of the show got to be in the next Saw movie. And they had to like do scenes where like they're terrified and being chased down a hallway, or like one episode they had to jump off a roof and do like a stunt. And like
wow.
like I don't like a lot of reality competition shows, but like you make one about actors, and I'm like, oh, okay, and you make it about horror actors. Anyway, that girl won, so I didn't know if she had like a huge role. I presumed it'd be like a featured death scene. Like they'd come into a room, there'd be a person strapped, and she'd die. So you open the movie with her, and she knocks it out of the fucking park when she grabs that fucking cleaver.
Oh God!
And the fact that she got a follow-up scene.
Yeah.
That isn't. And I love, can I tell you how much I love that scene? Because
yes.
It solidifies my point.
Yes.
And Hoffman's even like, did you learn? Did you?
No.
By the way, Hoffman's so fucking obvious in this movie, but we'll get to it.
Yes.
But she's like, what the fuck am I supposed to learn with from this? Like, look at me. What did I fucking learn? And I'm like, I
loved it.
That's what happens with fucking Jigsaw's traps, people. And I imagine dead Jigsaw being like, oh, she learned her lesson and she's rehabilitated. She has a new lease on life. No, she fucking doesn't.
I love that was showcased too. Like I wrote down the line, what am I supposed to learn from this? And I just, she was memorable to me for those reasons. But also, I thought about you too. In that moment, I was just kind of like, yes, that's what we were talking about. And
I gestured at the screen and yelled yes.
Yeah, really glad that it finally got introduced. Also, I like the fact that some characters come back, and I'm like then the characters, like when Perez came back, I was really happy.
Me too.
I didn't have one of those. Yeah, I didn't have one of those. Like really, because it was kind of an odd thing. I couldn't even really tell what happened to her.
Well, I didn't think she was mortally wounded.
Yeah,
I could see that maybe she could have been if things kind of went in far enough. But the fact that she wasn't around at 5, and they kind of were, oh, okay, I guess she's dead. I buy it, but I don't 100% buy it. So when she turns around, I was so excited.
The only thing, and it's something I would take up with Patrick Melton and or Marcus Dunstan, is just I love that as she and Erickson are in that room with the woman decoding the voices with Hoffman, as he's acting all shifty and suspicious and everything. And there's Perez. You can see her in the back, and I think she unbuttons her coat and pulls like the side of her coat back to get her hand on her gun, because you can tell she knows something is about to go down while she's asking him, what's going on, Hoffman, and everything like that. Thing is, I understand why you're doing this dramatically and for tension, and I guess it paid off. It made me sad that everybody got knocked off so easily. That said, Perez especially, even Erickson to a degree, already acting oddly suspicious of Hoffman before they even go into that room.
Or
So
in previous scenes.
Yes. So where is the conversation between Perez and Erickson alone in a room about how clearly Hoffman is at least a suspect and could conceivably be their man? And so here's the plan. We get backup and we get A squad, we get B squad. This is when I start longing for Saw 2, because at least Saw 2 had A squad, B squad, and C squad to go in after all of this shit. It still didn't do a lick of good, but at least they were prepared. So it made me think, how short-sighted again is Erickson that he's leading this division of the FBI and he doesn't even think to like, if I don't report to you by this particular time, some shit has gone down, or I'm gonna wear an earpiece or have the bug on me or something. I wanted it to go another way. I understand, I guess, why it didn't go that particular way, because we need to get Hoffman back into the facility or whatever, into the Jigsaw Fortress of Jigsolitude. But but yeah, it just bothered me. It really bothered me.
I was happy that Perez was back, but I will say
Yeah.
that one, Hoffman recurringly in this movie acts obvious as fuck. He sees Perez, he's like, oh, like red flag right there. Like there's so many times where he'll be like, what? Like this? Huh? And if I'm either of those two, I'm like, well, that's a red flag right there. That's interesting. That's weird.
Yeah.
But also Perez is very like, she's like this close to like Larry David being like, okay. Like, how does he not even like, she is not keeping her cards close. Like everyone's very, I don't know.
No.
So much so that when her and Erickson and Hoffman go to the voice decoder thing, I kept thinking, like, the only way I buy this is not buy it, but like, not quite headcanon, but I feel like they had that conversation already. Like, I don't trust this fucking guy. Do you? It's probably fucking him, right? Okay. We don't have enough evidence though. And we're going to be working with him. So we're going to keep him close to us.
Yeah.
As part of our plan. But we suspect this guy like from the beginning, but they can't do anything about it yet. And then and then it's like, oh, well, let's bring him to the, if they were smart, they wouldn't have brought him to the audio evidence.
Yeah.
And then maybe had more. Then things go awry. But I honestly, I had to imagine, because I can't believe Erickson would be that dumb, that was always the plan. The problem is the movie never explains it to me that was always the plan, that they don't trust him and he's been a suspect this whole time. Because I like 6 a lot, but one of the things is Hoffman is very much a suspect the whole movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the only thing that makes me just, and again, I more just kind of chuckle at it than get upset by it.
Same. I guess I wasn't upset by it, but I mean, just the way, the fact that we got so far to the point. I understand we need the tension to be high and we need everything to climax and we need him to, I guess, unleash. And now it's like, okay, I was hiding, and now I'm on the run. I'm never going to be able to hide this. They're going to discover them. They're going to know it was me. And I need to just get ready to live a life on the run, you know?
But yeah, that attack scene, I mean, I felt so bad for the audio engineer. What a shitty day at work for her, you know?
Oh, God. She's just doing her job.
Right. And then she gets shot by like the federal officer, just keeps shooting into her. I'm like, oh, this is what a shit ass mess. And Perez gets stabbed just and then a twist, and it's
he fucking shanked her just like bah, 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 ow.
I mean, I could see his whole world, his whole things are my empire is crumbling. And you have to try to clean your mess up, and I get, but what a giant mess this movie becomes at the end. Not as an insult to the movie, but just what a sticky situation,
particularly Hoffman's. Hoffman is irredeemable. You can't save his storyline. He did a good job with everything else.
And the series keeps him around for so long.
I know. Oh, it's disgusting.
I literally wrote, so just basically, a lot happens in this movie. I
Yes.
find it to be very satisfying.
Me
The
too.
the kill scene, the traps storyline, great. But also we get Perez back. We find out what fucking Hoffman wrote in the envelope. We find out what was in the box that was bequeathed to his wife in 5. Our federal agents find out that Hoffman was in on it, and we get finally like a proper flashback that has Hoffman and Amanda and Jigsaw sharing scenes together, and not just
Yeah.
Jigsaw Hoffman, after the
And
fact.
also Jill knew Amanda too. Like, I mean, she knew
Yeah,
her.
she met Amanda, yeah.
Yeah.
And they also keep coming with them twists and reveals, like, did you know Amanda was with
yes.
the guy, and
Yeah.
he was trying to
Yeah.
score for her, and
Oh
that
my
plays
God.
into the letter, and blah 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 blah.
And
blah.
why Amanda turned on Johnny Jigsaw because Hoffman framed her.
Right.
And I
And
love.
why does she read that letter in 3 and immediately just do an about face? And now I know why.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And then and not even there. Like by the end, like I just wrote in all caps with an exclamation mark, twists. Because I also wrote the family of
Yes.
George Newburn's character was the man, their family. They're his family, and he's the guy who William killed, like by denying any kind of like coverage. And I think it's his introductory scene.
Yeah.
And where the whole time we're led to believe that they are William's family, and that Pamela Jenkins is just kind of this like random, like, why is she even there? Well, because she's close, because she's a reporter.
And also, like, I forget if there's a tape, but like the way you're writing about me is that, like, it's, I don't appreciate the smear. Your journalism is not,
Oh, right.
from Jigsaw's point of view, or from Hoffman/Jigsaw, but like, yeah, we need you to stop. So I understand when I'm led to believe that those other people are his family. I get why she's there.
Sure. No, yeah. But then when it's revealed,
that's a
totally
good twist.
I thought it was great. I gasped. I gay gasped. I was like, so great. And then the fact that like the acid that was planted earlier, that the son noticed, he was like, or I think the mother said, do you think we could put the acid through these parts? Like, how are we going to do it with our hands? And I'm like, what is the acid there for them? Like, and then you realize, no, the acid is there. It's just leaking a little.
It's just leaking a little.
Because it's there. So when whoever makes the decision to kill William, that it'll just like go down and just like inject him with that acid. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I like that. And also
my only nitpick, is that the trap presumes that he would be talking to that mother and son, because it swings down and hits him there. Well, what if he was talking to what if he was like just saying goodbye to his wife or something?
I mean, his sister.
Or his sister, yeah. Like the trap would have just swung and missed him completely. Like, I don't, like, it depends on him standing in that one spot.
Well, this is all the chances and everything. But I mean, also, I mean, if you're going to implore, like, he doesn't know that, but if he's going to be, but also if he doesn't know that them deciding whether he lives or dies, he doesn't know what it means.
Right. But yeah, he would be up to those bars begging, sure.
Yeah, he would be over there rather than just kind of like, please, I have a sister, I'm going to stay over here, rather than come to you and express some kind of like actual apology and some remorse at least over what I did. And I love the fact, again, these people in this movie are written so interesting because they've got like contradictions in themselves. They even state things that they're going to do and then don't do them, like the mother, the way she was just kind of like, the way she resigned herself to kill Will, and the reason had nothing to do with the pain that he caused for her, but so he couldn't cause pain to anyone else in the future. And I thought that was amazing. And then she couldn't do it. That is all interesting to me. And then it's totally predictable, but I love it. I was just like, there is no way the son is going to let that fly. Like, he's going to go be like, you killed my dad, you motherfucker. And that's exactly what he did. And I was just like, oh yeah.
Everything in those from the moment, because also the twist could just be, that's not your family, this is your family. But the fact that they are victims of his policy, like, so now things are like snowballing, and everything's well acted, everything was well shot, like, super effective finale. I just wrote, That family twist was really damn good.
Yes. I also wrote William is essentially the reason for Jigsaw's advancing cancer now.
Right.
Like, I mean, at the very root of it,
If you're
for
expanding the
denying him
lore,
access to
I really
anything.
like that.
I
It
did too.
also, if you're gonna keep trying to do things beyond your death, like you didn't have time, you didn't get around to it, or you're making a plan, at least this one I buy. Why I need to cross
Yeah.
this dude off my list.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But again, it also informs that Jigsaw thing, that Johnny Jigsaw personal motive as opposed to
Right.
random.
Like it's not William's test in the end. It's that mother and her son's
Oh,
test,
I love that.
which then makes,
Yeah.
again, when I say you're crossing him off a list, like you do want them to kill him. So Jigsaw, you do want them to murder him. It's personal for you. This guy's responsible for why you're so sick.
I also love Williams.
You're a murderer.
I love
And a
Williams'
hypocrite.
realization. Yeah, but I love
Oh,
his
yeah.
realization that it's not his test, because he is exactly the kind of person to be self-important enough to believe that all of these people are, are there because of him or whatever. And I love the fact that even though it's accessing a kind of humanity in him, like that actor is really, really good.
He's great.
Like the shame that he wears from like one section to another, and the way, I mean, he essentially has to play kind of the same scene over and over again, but finds new and interesting ways and angles to play it, and that's not easy. But I also, because one of my favorite, because I talked about the carousel being one of my favorite kills of the franchise, and one of my favorite kills of this movie. The other favorite kill of this movie, or just I guess, or favorite test of this movie, was the obstacle course that he leads Debbie, the lawyer, through.
Right.
When he has to like suffer the steam, the piping hot steam on his own flesh to spare her, and even the fact that this would like relieve her or whatever it is. Like, and there was something about even the way he did that. I love when there has to be participation, cooperation, and people have to listen and communicate and not just follow the rules, but just kind of like be decent people, like when that's what the test demands of them, and going beyond just like sparing their life, but literally getting them to listen to you and making sacrifices yourself to try and spare them pain. There was something about that felt very fresh and very I had me on the edge of my seat. And it's not terribly gory. It's not like, even though every time the steam went on either of them, I was like,
but performatively it does look painful, but it's just not like torture porn and my nipples being ripped off by chains or something.
Yes. Oh, it was so effective. It was incredible.
I actually
I was
liked,
so happy as a film goer.
I think it was the first test, right? Or is it the first or the second? But the platforms, the two people with the barbed wire nooses. And like a young single guy, and then like an older lady.
With Addie, the secretary, and Alan, the young, unattached gentleman file clerk.
That just feels. I mean, like, I don't want to give it too much credit for being classic, but I mean, there's literature that goes back centuries of making this sort of choice and live or die, and these sort of social conundrums of. She's older, but health, but family, but single, like who has value. And again, according to your personal things about people and algorithms that you've created. But I love so I love that choice. I love
even the visual
and him having to make that choice.
Of him literally holding their lives in his hands.
Yeah.
And he has to let one go.
Yeah, it's great.
I don't care. I liked that he saved Addie because I figured he had more history with her. And I liked her. I noticed her in her first scene where they're just hanging out in the office. She announces, I think it's Pamela Jenkins. I can't remember. But she announces somebody and she just walks in. And I just got a good vibe from her. I was just like, oh, she seems sweet. I bet she's either oblivious to half the shit that goes on or just shakes her head and goes, what but I got a family, what am I gonna do,
but the other guy leaves an impression too, the janitor.
He does.
This guy, everyone who shows up in those traps, there wasn't one person that I was like no, they all get their little beats in the office. So I really
the janitor.
Yeah, that was a rough one.
I wanted to ask you though,
how
do you think you do in that one?
I personally, well, beyond just the obvious, like I also can't hold my breath for very long, so I'm fucked.
Okay.
Like I'm really like I can't swim underwater for that long. Like I'd be fucked, so fucked.
I just know that I probably keep Margot Robbie in my head because I know for Suicide Squad 2016 she had to learn to hold her breath, and she got to about 5 minutes because that's how long you should hold your breath before you start to do brain damage. So all I would do
Or
is just think of Margot Robbie, just like, and also I found it's easier to hold your breath if you inhale deeply before the clock starts or whatever. They both should have gone. So the second they have to start, respirating again, they would not inhale and make the things go like that, but they would exhale, and maybe the things would fluctuate a little and nobody would get hurt.
Yeah.
So I just thought, I don't know that I'd survive, but but I feel like that one I had more of a tactic in my head than probably anything else that we've seen up until now in the franchise. I couldn't think of any other test where I'm like, I could do that.
Yeah,
I don't have
and that's
one.
the one where I went, I know I couldn't do that.
Oh shit.
Just because that has nothing to do with my will. You know what I mean? Like that's
right.
oh,
It's
fuck.
involuntary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just can't hold my breath very long. I'm fucking dead.
Yeah.
No, but the other little thing it kind of,
that was gross.
When you seem to know her name, but the secretary who gets to live.
Addie.
Yeah. But when he's like, try to find a way out. I gotta go. And I'm like, help just fucking go up or try to open it. Help, come on. And then you try to get out and I'm like, you just left her and you're gonna keep. And then I realized, and then I went, oh wait, it's a timed thing. You actually do need to keep going. I guess in that case, it's like at least you're not dead, but I gotta go.
Yeah.
Same thing with the carousel. I just wish it's like, yeah, at some point the police will arrive or you'll figure something out, but I gotta go.
Yeah. Because it's like the rig thing. Eventually there's going to be somebody like down the line who is going to need you, who you might care even more about than these people. That's a terrible thing to say, but it's true. Also, I kind of loved it that he said that to Addie, because I got a sense of the Office like kind of behavior between the two of them. Like I think she spent their entire career together as his secretary, just kind of fielding things that he can't deal with.
Like, and it's like 5 o'clock, and he's like, I gotta go do this thing, but can you file that and do this? And she's like, okay. He's like, I gotta go. Bye.
Right, exactly. Like, so I actually kind of chuckled, also because I was watching her and I saw her, starting to kind of like get her balance on the thing and start to negotiate. Okay, well the floor's right there, so it's not like I'm falling. They're not falling to a pit.
No,
I think they're falling
into
the platforms were like maybe 4 feet over the.
They're only falling into their noose.
Exactly, and then plunking against the glass. Well, that was to keep them from being able to tamper with it. So,
but also it cuts into the neck. Good.
Yeah, it's gross. But I probably would have chose Addie too, just because I don't know. I would have been like, I think killing a young man who doesn't have anybody like relying on him or anything like that. This is what I tell myself while I'd be like, she's got grandkids, she's got kids, she's got grandkids. How am I going to tell these young people that I killed grandma? And also, I probably do know her better. I've probably given her a Christmas bonus every year. She's probably, who knows, maybe she's got some shit on me, and maybe if I kill her, I'm gonna have to live with that I made her carry a secret from me her entire life, and then I killed her.
You're really coming up with a lot.
Addie made an impression on me.
Yeah, you're creating your little backstory for her and their whole work relationship.
But like I say, like something about these tests in this movie is so immersive. I like in a way that like, and even though I love the first one and I really like the third one, and I like 4 and 5 more than I remembered that I would, and even 2 has its strong points. That said, all of these tests kind of across the board felt more immersive to me. And I don't know if that's Kevin Grutert's direction and handling of them, or if it's just
the
like the
script
fact
and
that they're built
casting?
into the body of the action. Right. Or
I mean, so many of these people are normies anyway, but like so many of them have also been like criminals or people who haven't handled, and this feels more like, well, they're office people. Like I know that secretary, I know that guy, I've seen him on a smoke break at lunch. I feel a little more connected to these office employees. They're part of an insidious business versus murderers themselves.
And then watching them symbolize greater aspects of your sins as a perpetrator of corruption.
And for some reason, these traps feel like more manifestations of like a morality test.
Yes.
So
I love it.
That all
so good.
Six its hooks into me more.
Yeah.
Just a little random thing I observed and went, oh, okay. I was waiting for this. Every Saw movie I watch, you know, they're still using VHS tapes and they're all on square TVs. And I kept thinking, I wonder at what point is someone going to have a widescreen TV? And then sure enough, what the fuck is his fucking wife's name? Jill?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remembered
Jill Tuck. Yeah.
Yeah. She's looking at their like video of like when they had the ultrasound, and she's got a widescreen TV in her apartment. I went, oh look, there it's starting to creep its way into the franchise.
Jilly Jigsaw.
Because even in 5, we're still operating on flip phones, but we had a widescreen TV, so that was nice. Speaking of TVs, I also found it interesting in this one, 1 through 5. Whenever we have the tests, it's Billy the puppet going, "I want to play a game."
Yeah,
we've seen John Kramer like on a tape for Jill, but we see John Kramer, not Billy the puppet, in the trap videos this time. And all I could think, I didn't overthink it, but I went, what's up with that? Is there a special reason? Is it because maybe this guy's, it's a little more personal because I went to this guy.
That's what I thought.
About my cancer, so you don't get the puppet. You have to look at my fucking face.
That's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought. It was nice.
I just went, that's interesting.
Because it means something to Will.
Yeah.
To those eyes.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just like, oh my God, because everyone at this point, like, you've seen John Kramer's face on the fucking news, but for him to be like, oh God. Yeah. Also, I also just really appreciated that flashback. All the flashbacks, whenever he sees, you know, because we're really laying into the setup of the theme of the movie. It's that first party, and he finds out what he does, and he finds out that it's not just company policy, but kind of like an algorithm. He's not an algorithm, but
he's created
certain standards and guidelines that he has created.
The last guy who dies on the carousel calls it whatever it is and says that it sucks or that it's fucked up or whatever he says.
All those, but especially when John is coming. Yeah, but when John comes to his office, I mean, that in a whole movie full of, you know, twists and turns and murders, I really just got a lot of watching these two guys talk.
Yeah.
Just talking about, you know, the value of his life and yeah. And then one other thing, I think this is my last opinion on this movie, but this movie keeps loving to twist the knife in me a little bit when it's or flicking my nutsack.
Okay.
When we flash back to John showing Jill, you know, Amanda, he's explaining, well, no, it does, what I do does work. Look at her.
Right.
She's clean and whole. She has an appreciation for life. And I'm like, does she? And then she's like, it works. It really helped me. And I'm like,
he helped me. Yeah.
No, nobody's had an appreciation for life. She has an appreciation for you. She is in your cult. She has dedicated her life to murdering people with fucking bogus traps. She's not out there spinning in the fucking fields. She may be clean, but she isn't doing something better with her life unless you consider your bullshit better.
Which of course she
does. But to me, the objective viewer, I say nay.
I also love the fact that they allude to it. It's not necessarily spelled out, but I feel like it's alluded to, and I don't think I'm crazy for assuming this. I like that not only is Amanda not the only one helping him set up like these traps for 1 through 3 or whatever. I also love the fact that so like that Hoffman's there. One thing I love that they did with Hoffman is that they made him corrupt early on also, because he's the one who was setting up the rack with that had, what was his name? I wrote it down. Timothy Young from was it 3? Yeah, the 3, the
Yes.
one with Jeff.
Oh yeah, and I
So
thought it was bullshit that they did the thing and the rack still didn't work, and I chalked it up to
and
Amanda.
we thought it was Amanda in the last pod we talked about, and it was revealed. I mean, the one who was working on it in the exchange before Amanda wheels Johnny Jigsaw away is Hoffman. So I'm just going like, oh my God, Hoffman is the one who made it so that this guy was going to die no matter what. So already before him, Johnny Jigsaw's empire is crumbling. I mean, literally the same day. Because he's gonna lose Amanda, and Hoffman is already doing his own perverted shit. I mean, it's not that it's not perverted when Johnny does it, but when Hoffman does it, it's his own perverted shit. And
Amanda's already fucking with traps too. So basically, both of his children are like misbehaving. You know.
So it's going to be interesting. I remember something happening in the final chapter that suggests it's not just the two of them either.
Yeah,
but I wonder how I'm going to feel about the way it's handled, because I remember reacting a particular way. I wonder if I'm going to react the same way this time now.
I'm curious too, because what you're referring to, I didn't take to mean what you think what it means. I just thought it was something else.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll have to wait and see.
Well, I mean, we're being cryptic just because maybe someone hasn't seen it. But yeah, I never took that to mean he had other help. I just thought yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah. Yeah, one little, at least this movie kind of scratched this little itch for me, in that at the beginning of 4, Hoffman gets the tape that Jigsaw coated in wax in 3. Yeah. And of course, Jigsaw just knew that Hoffman would be the one present at his autopsy. Sure. And he says, like, did you think you'd be getting out of this without being tested yourself? Like, the games are just beginning, and like, you will be tested, which makes you think like, oh, this is about to like go down. And when you see 4 and you see him in the teeter-totter, you think this is his test. It's not.
No.
So then we realize that all this is kind of taking place before that. So at the start of 5, I'm thinking, well, now that 4 has taken place during 3 and we've caught up to it, starting with 5, are we going to see Hoffman get tested? And like, we don't. And I'm like, at what point? That sounded like maybe more of an immediate threat than I took it. But at what point you do see in 6, I think Hoffman has like a little flashback to it. So it's in his mind when they're seeing the autopsy of like the fat dude who was cutting his stuff out.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So like, clearly that has happened. I just kept thinking, is that just like a giant prick tease to him? Like, you don't know when. And sure enough, like at the end of this fucking movie, Jill shows up with the thing, and it's like, okay, at least it paid off. Because I just remember thinking through all of 4 and all of 5, are we just supposed to ignore that he got a tape saying you're gonna have a test? Because this movie series is really good at not forgetting shit, and it feels like you're either forgetting shit or you're gonna. How long do we wait? Because we haven't done that yet either. Like, oh, I'm gonna get you.
Yeah.
Later. Because if I hear that
envelope
tape,
number 6.
Yeah, and then I wonder, like, well, if I hear that tape, I'm like, well, fuck you. I'm not carrying out your bullshit now. If I'm the one who's like, but he still keeps going. Okay, all right, but yeah,
because he can't help it. He's hooked by then.
Well, yeah,
yeah.
So yeah, he is envelope number 6. His wife sure really seems to be down with this whole thing now.
Yeah, that was interesting too. It's kind of,
she got on board pretty quick.
Only took her receiving the box, but maybe it was. I think the only reason she got on board though is because I will see what happens in the future, because I don't remember if she comes back or what happens to her. But the impression I get is that Amanda is gone. Johnny Jigsaw is gone. If she carries out this test, which is, essentially it's a death trap. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
But this test for this comeuppance, really, for Hoffman, it'll all end. And maybe that's all she wants, is just for it all to end, to die with Johnny.
But she's not just doing this sixth envelope test. Like, he comes to her and says, like, we're doing the test tonight. Like, she's aware and in on the whole traps for six. So it's not like she's in the dark on this. She seems to be Hoffman's kind of accomplice.
Yeah, I guess. But maybe, I don't know.
He goes to her office to tell her, we have to do this tonight instead of later because of this.
But maybe she has her own personal vendetta against envelopes 1 through 5, because it all ties in with her husband's cancer and the ultimate kind of destruction. I mean, of course, what happened at the clinic, with their unborn child is one thing, but then like his health, just kind of tumbling down and just kind of like, becoming worse and worse, and not getting any help from anybody who was like, or anybody who factors into that plan. Maybe because it was his last wish, she just wanted to honor it. And maybe there is a little bit of a personal vendetta. It's like, this is for Johnny, this is his last wish.
I buy that. It was just, apt between 3, 4, and 5. I wouldn't say it felt like an about face, but I didn't like what you're describing makes sense. I don't see enough of what you're describing in the movie itself.
Yeah, I agree. But at the same time, I like her being kind of more, she's one character who I don't mind being more mysterious. I feel like I mean, that's the way she was kind of, so I feel like the more we get to know about her, but like at a pace, I prefer it that way, rather than just kind of like, and here's who she is. She's more important. She's too important to the story for us to understand why she's done everything she's done, at least at this point, especially if she's going to come back, which she survived. So she may still come back.
Yeah. I remember the very, very, very opening scene of 7 and the very, very last scene of 7. I don't remember anything else.
I remember the last scene of 7, and that's it.
Yeah, I don't remember who comes back. Yeah, so I mean, I know one character who comes back, obviously, but yeah, I gotta say though, overall, for franchise fans, the continuity on this just must be fucking delightful for them, and and also just an impressive feat. It's one thing. It's just one thing when you've got like a script supervisor, someone who's doing the continuity within one movie, but to do these movies every year, and to have that kind of continuity where like we're gonna flash back. Oh, we got to make sure in this timeline he's got shaved head because it's closer to 1, or it's right after 1 into 2. But at this point, he's got this kind of hairstyle. Like, really, really good stuff. But overall, just a massive kind of impressive endeavor.
Yeah.
Say what you want about being torture porn or not, or how much it's gory or how much it's plotty police stuff. But as productions, as a franchise, not only is it impressive to me, like personally, but also I find it interesting, like from a release standpoint, like because I remember first of all, after the third one, I believe it was the fourth one, where since they came out every October and were big hits, where the fourth one, the commercials would always say, if it's Halloween, it must be Saw. Like, we own this fucking month, bitches. And the fact that you've kind of reached that point, I didn't see them in theaters, but when I saw the commercials, I just presumed there's some traps and there's some people in them. And I heard about how like 4 was parallel to 3, and I went, oh, that's interesting. He has like another apprentice besides Amanda. I go, oh, okay, that's interesting. But I am genuinely surprised each time one of these movies starts, and it's like, maybe not the opening kill scene, because the opening kill scenes are usually their own thing, title. But like we start 5 at the end of 3 with, Angus McFadden, and these movies start right where the last ones leave off. And, I imagine like a poor movie critic who's not even into horror movies, who's just reviewing it going like, I don't fucking remember what happened at the end of Saw 4, but this is going, you have to be a fan to enjoy this. But what I'm getting at is if I saw the commercials and just thought it was death traps every time, and I'm sure the studio is selling it that way because the studio never sold it as find out what happens to Hoffman next and is Perez really dead. They don't sell the story. They sell like the B story and traps. And I guarantee you, if the studio wanted to be like, we don't give a shit about all this plotty plot shit, can you just make it about traps? They could have probably vocalized and said so. Maybe not the studio, because I know it's produced by Twisted Pictures and I think released by Lionsgate. But the fact that there was a commitment by the production team and all these producers to stick to this plan for every movie. Because you could have just made it the Trap series.
Franchise.
Yeah. And the studio would have been fine with it.
Yeah.
But the fact that they really committed to this is commendable.
I agree.
In a way that, I love the Friday the 13th franchise, but you can pop in any one of those. There's a little Tommy Jarvis trilogy, and you can pop in 5 and we get a little flashback to 4 and you're good. You start 6 and you understand, but who the hell just dives into part 5 with this? I feel like you need to watch all the Saws.
I feel like if you do, you realize you made a mistake and then you have to go back to the beginning. But no, I also understand a lot of people don't watch movies the way you or I do. I know there are a lot of people who could give a shit and they just sit through it and just kind of go well, that was interesting. That didn't make any sense, but someday I'll watch the movies that came before it and maybe I'll understand. But it was a good way to spend 90 minutes. But
I think I could watch Saw 6 on its own just because its strengths are so good that I don't need to.
I wouldn't want to, but that's just me. But I agree with you in terms of the care. No, but I agree with you in terms of the care that's taken. I'd argue maybe not even necessarily continuity so much as connective tissue, because even the things that get, I guess, slightly retconned, even if it's just in spirit for me, seem like the people were invested. It doesn't feel like it was a mistake all the time. Sometimes it feels like a correction. Sometimes it feels like just kind of developing something, actually, broadening it, making that thing that was in that movie even more interesting. And sometimes it is a detour that I didn't need, but it, but does it make me want to stop watching the movie? No. And does it make me not want to continue with the franchise? Absolutely not. I'm actually more amped up to continue on with the next 3 movies than I remember being the first time I sat down to watch these. I honestly don't know what my problem was. Because I'm really enjoying these. Yeah.
I don't know if I ever had a problem. I had more of a problem before I saw them the first time. I was super judgy about 4 and 5 and 6 before I saw them. I have fond memories, but I'm liking them way more right now than I ever have before.
Me too.
I wouldn't say what was my problem, but I am definitely enjoying myself. And I'm really looking forward to the next batch. 1, because I distinctly do not remember shit about 7, set from the very beginning to the very, very end. 2, I'm looking forward to seeing what you think of Jigsaw.
Yeah.
And then also, I'm dying to see Spiral, and now I have a reason to watch it.
Yeah.
so the next one should be fun.
Yay!
Even if I don't end up having a great time, my anticipation, I'll go in going, this should be fun. So we'll see.
Hoffman is dead! Yay!
Yeah. I mean, we're.
I will not miss him. I don't miss him.
Yeah. No. Do you have anything else?
Yeah. No, I think that's it.
Cool. Yeah. So we'll be back talking about the next 3, like I just said. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Eddie, for joining me.
Thank you, John Carlos.
And thank you for suggesting this. The timing worked out really well. So
I'm proud of both of us.
Yeah, go us.
Yeah.
We'll be back. Here's some links to our social medias and the show's social medias. Okay, bye.